Morning, everybody.
Morning.
Very good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mary. How are you today?
I'm fine. Yeah, just a sec.
You feeling recovered from your flu jab now?
I am, thank you. Yes. No, it floored me for about 3 days.
Interesting. I was due to have a one-on-one with Benjamin Ben today. There's the name. And he's just dropped me a note, said, Neil, I feel like absolute, having had his flu jab yesterday. So, yeah, it's interesting how it has knocked a few people for 6.
Yes, not everybody though, but like one of my team, he had the AstraZeneca jab the other day, and it floored him for a couple of days. Yeah. So, but then other people have it, and it doesn't really affect them. But I was talking to a guy who's got some people in the medical profession, and he said actually if you do have an adverse reaction to it, it's not actually an adverse reaction, it's actually a good thing, because it shows your immune system is actually working really well. Right. And that's what's making you feel poorly. It's your immune system kicking in against the vaccine.
Oh.
So I thought, well, if that's true, okay, fair play. My immune system.
Fairness, I had mine on a Friday, and I did feel proper tired on the Saturday afternoon. A bit of a headache in the evening. Just went to bed at 8 and a couple of paracetamol. Hopefully that was it.
You were fine. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So,
well, my husband was fine as well, actually, because he had the Pfizer, and he felt a bit jaded, but he not like me. I mean, it was almost like full blown flu was onsetting. So yeah, really weird.
Morning, Teresa. Hello, Teresa. Hope she can hear. You're far too young, I guess, Chloe, to have had yours yet.
Yes, I'm afraid I think I'm just in the next category below. So my husband had his last night. He seems all right this morning, but no, I think hopefully soon.
Yeah. Yes. Just going back to Teresa Westwood. Can you hear us, Teresa Westwood? You can see Teresa. I'm not. Robert, good morning.
Morning.
How are you today?
I'm all right. Frustrated.
You're frustrated?
Yeah, my car keeps breaking down and having problems with it, and it's frustrating. It's the 4th time it's gone in this year, and
What car you got?
I've got an Audi Q8, and there's a problem in it, and the child locks stop working. Yeah. And so obviously I've got 2 kids, so I keep ringing them up, and they're like, "Oh, we'll get it in a few days." I was like, I've got my kids in the car. They're feral at times, especially when they're in the car. I said, "What if they open the door and roll out, duck, drop, and roll?" I says, "Whose fault is that?" And they went, "Well, it'd be ours." I went, "Well, you need it. I want it in today." So I've took it in. But yeah, I've had no end of issues with it. I've got a panoramic roof on it that leaks. So through the winter, I was having water that were running on my head. Everybody in the office thinks it's hilarious, saying it's an optional extra water feature, shower. So I had the sympathy crew in my office, obviously giving me loads of advice. Obviously, my dad was coming up with very grown-up answers as well. So. It ranged from driving it through the forecourt to setting it on fire, claiming the insurance. Loads of really, really good ideas. I'm surprised the ideas were that good, Neil. I'm surprised they're not in here giving advice to business. You know what I mean? It was just.
Robert, you need to get a Ford. You need to get a Ford. They're good.
Or a bus pass, anything like that. You know what I mean?
Oh, bless you.
Mark, good morning to you.
Morning all, how are you all?
Very well indeed. How are you keeping?
Thank you.
All good, lovely spring day.
Beautiful spring day. Joy to be alive. Yeah, David, good morning to you. Have you already done your Peloton 10 miles this morning?
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, if you check my Strava, Neil, it's on there.
Very, very good. Yes. Well,
I've been
David and
throwing
I
a few
now-
likes there, Dave.
So I threw a like over. Yeah.
Yeah. Now David and I are Strava buddies now. I mean, done a walk and talk this time. Was it this time last week?
Yeah, you're single-handedly revolutionising coaching now.
Well, as we said at the time, if it's good enough for Steve Jobs, and that's Steve Jobs always used to have a one-on-one with his coach, having walk around his campus in wherever it was in California. So it's certainly good enough for David Hall, I'd have thought.
I mean, it's up there. It's as good. I mean, I don't have a campus, unfortunately, now, but
You've got the Carsington campus on your doorstep.
that's right.
Which will soon be opening up again. So that's you again to have your base at the Carsington campus, the orderly global base. So I think we've got a few absentees and the people who passed on their apologies today. Owen is now a proud father.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
So his baby daughter came 2 weeks early. So but she said, Mum and daughter doing well, £6, 4 ounces. And I will go and find the name in a minute. But I said I needed all the details because everyone would want to be asking, needing to know. Certainly the Mum's on the call, all the essential details. So now he's good. I think they say he came out of hospital last night. So he's good. I think Pedro's daughter's potential might have got COVID, so he might be joining us, depending on how that is. And Richard already sent his apologies, so so we'll make a start. And
Neil, can I just quickly say one thing?
Yeah.
So I'm okay for most of the morning. That's absolutely fine. But because it got shifted to today, I have got a client call that I can't reschedule. I've tried, but it's at 9:30 today. So I just need to hop off to make that call, and then I'll come back. I'm really sorry about that. But
what do you know how long's that call for?
It won't be for long.
Because what we're going to do then, we're going to do a bit of rapid fire masterminding. And that sees the teams just going out into one-on-one groups and using that just a quick way of addressing a challenge. So we'll probably start that in about 10 minutes, quarter of an hour. Do that, and then Mark, you okay to be in the hot seat today? So Mark, so when we do that, let's say that's going to take us to we're going to do that for about 10 minutes each. So Mary, I'll have to keep an eye out for when you come back in again. So that if we got 1, 2, we've got six. So I'll get that split out, and I'll join. I'll just work up who I'm going to split everyone up with in a minute, and then we'll welcome you back in then, Mary. Okay.
Okay, sorry about that, but yeah, I couldn't.
Just the way,
I tried to
by the
push
way,
it.
the way the lighting is, we can't see you at all. We can just see is kind of a window behind you. So,
Okay, I'll go and turn the light on and see if that makes a difference. Hang on.
Yeah.
Just 1 sec.
Silhouette at the moment. So let's quickly go around. Teresa, can you hear us now?
I can.
Great. Yeah, there was a bit we were saying,
I've got technical issues.
come in Teresa Westwood, and there was like no Teresa
I'm here.
Westwood.
I'm here. Yeah.
Teresa, let's start with your good self. Good news and check-in. How's everything in the Woodhead group?
Let's just say, Neil, what a difference a week makes.
Really?
Yes.
Good news. Well, hopefully that's good news.
Fantastic news.
Right.
We got some funding issues with one of our projects that we were funding ourselves, and one of the other companies in the group was funding it. We didn't expect them to have to fund it for as long as they did, which caused us major issues. We went into contract with Homes England on lunchtime Friday, which has taken about 4.5 months to get to instead of 12 weeks. And the first 2 valuations were in the bank yesterday. So that was a fantastic bit of news. And another good bit is I've been in a negotiating meeting this morning since 7 o'clock. Over a project that's caused us major grief for the last probably about 4 years. And we're reaching a bit of an impasse, and I went, you know what, I've not got time for this, we'll go to adjudication, and we settled, and I've now left them dotting the I's and crossing the T's.
Fantastic.
So 2 massive big wins probably means probably just over 2 million cash coming in.
Brilliant.
So it's major. So yeah, good morning today.
Very good morning.
Better place than I was last Wednesday, Neil.
Well, I'd like to think that some of the clarity that you were getting from last Wednesday's helped get us through these challenges. So well done. That's great news. Chloe.
Morning, everyone. All good here, I think. You may have seen in the news one of our athletes qualified for the Olympics.
Yay!
Ben Connor. So yeah, that's really good news. So we've actually got 2 marathon runners going, but I'm not allowed to officially tell you the other one yet, a female athlete. So
really?
Yeah, it's all a bit strange this year with how they're being released, and the qualification process has been so different. So yeah, everybody's kind of keeping really hush hush, and hopefully sort of in May, before the end of May, we should be able to kind of say all the athletes that are going. So that'd be good. So yeah, that's really good. The other great news is obviously we're going back to Derby Arena on the 12th of April. So hooray, we will be back working face to face with our athletes again, which will be amazing. So yes, all good.
Fantastic. And I'm right thinking there's a triathlete as well from Derbyshire who's part of Dino's.
Yeah, Tom Bishop. Yeah, he qualified a while ago, to be fair. So yeah, we've actually never supported him through DIS because he'd already got onto a world-class program when we set DIS up. So, but funnily enough, I used to work for British Triathlon, and Tom was one of the first athletes I worked with. So supported him, just in a different world.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
All good. Robert.
Well, yeah, every day is a good day. I never see it, and there's never problems. There's just challenges, isn't there? So it's not had a particularly difficult past couple of weeks, to be honest. We got planning on a site on Monday, which was really good.
Brilliant.
It was one of those jobs that we picked up in December 19 that we should have. I've actually wrote start in April on our board, that meaning last April. I didn't put the year, which I keep clarifying to everybody in the office, so they don't know which April I actually meant. So ironically, I've got the date right, which is always good. It's our year end today, so everybody's sort of trying to collect as much cash in as they can and wait for paying everything out tomorrow. So other than that, yeah, it's been good, to be honest.
Very good. And what was great to see is the social housing annual report that you guys published last week.
Yes.
Something that you know I've been working on with Ian for probably six months now, but that's a stunning piece of work that you guys have just done.
Yeah, it was. There's not really been a piece of work that's ever really been done like that. That's which is within the industry. So we've worked alongside Derby University, and yeah, we've done a social housing report. It's all free. You can download it off LinkedIn. So if anybody wants to read, I don't know how many pages is 8 pages of social housing report. Feel free. It's quite interesting, to be honest.
Yeah, very good. Well done. Mary Maguire is back in the house.
Can you see me now?
We can see you. Yeah, a bit better. You are not just a silhouette anymore. You've got a nice smiley face.
That's probably better, actually, to be honest. Anyway, yeah. So it's been a good couple of weeks. We've started picking up a few more jobs. I think there's a sense that businesses want to crack on. I filled a job yesterday with a very long-standing client. I had the final confirmation through, which was great. So the offer letter is going to be going out. That's quite a senior role, so that's fantastic. And on my one-to-one with you, Neil, sort of saying about blog posts and stuff. So thank you for your input. So I've got some interesting articles that are I'm sort of in the process of writing, so thank you for your tips on that. But no, I think all's good really. We've got most of the team coming back into the office after Easter.
Yeah.
Because we've got social distancing, we've got everything in our big offices at Cardinal Square. So we can't wait for that to happen actually, because I think we've all missed working together. I mean, we've all been working together remotely, but it's not the same. It just doesn't work, I don't think, when you've got a recruitment business or any sort of collaborative team essence where you need to sort of bounce ideas off each other. I think it makes it very difficult. Zoom's been great, don't get me wrong, but it's just not quite the same. So we can't wait till we'll be working together again.
Very
Definitely.
Good. 100% agree on that one. Mark Gardner, 2 weeks ago, you had the opening of the World Cup window. I'd be fascinated to hear how everything is in your world of MSG tours.
Yeah, thanks, Neil. Crikey, what a fortnight. Apologies for having to step out of the last session. It was the day that we officially went on sale. I'm in the hot seat today to talk about something around this, so I'll just give a couple of highlights without trespassing on that section. I suppose what we experienced was the unknown. We gained an official badge for the first time, and just to dumb down really on what that means is if you're going to go on holiday somewhere or go overseas to an event, then you want to go there with the knowledge you're going to be inside a stadium. So like the Olympics, if you're going to go to Japan, you're not going to go all that way without being able to watch the 100 meters or watch the rowing, for example. For us, we were given the opportunity of being an official agent for the Rugby World Cup. It's the 4th biggest event, spectator event in the world. And we went on sale with ticket inclusive packages with a go live, let's see what happens. And we didn't sleep much for the first week, and that was having to accommodate people from all over the world on different time zones, trying to operate a system, an online booking system that perhaps wasn't up to the expected demands, and doing a lot of reverse engineering to make that happen. The end result is that we're delighted in how the first phase has finished, and it's given us a huge amount of confidence going forward.
Brilliant, great to hear. And obviously, you and I are both delighted that Wales are the Six Nations champions as well. So, bit of a disappointment on the one Friday night, and then it kind of got better the next Friday night. So
yes, yeah, very, very, very much so.
Get the leeks and the daffodils out again. Very good indeed, David Hall.
Yeah, I don't know. It goes quick, doesn't it? 2 weeks. It's been positive. Yeah, been positive. We had a guy leave yesterday, so I looked up our numbers. I don't know whether attrition is something we need to worry about, but we had 11 new starters in the last year and we lost 4. But that's a bit of a negative. But on the positive side, yeah, everything's fine. Pipeline looks good. We've had some great pictures. Close to closing a few deals. I think, yeah.
Very good.
It's like 2 weeks has gone in seconds,
hasn't it? Yeah, and as I said, it one-to-ones are definitely done better outside than down a Zoom call. There's no doubt about that. And to walk around Carsington Reservoir was a real joy. So
yeah.
Weather to be front on Monday with my one-to-one with Pedro, which was at the Shiny Brewery.
Nice. You are getting out and about.
And legally as well, because we did it outside in the sun on his bench, imbibing in one of his finely shiny beers. So life is starting to get good again. So what we're going to do now, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go into a rapid fire session. And what this is going to happen is I'm going to open up the breakout rooms, and we're going to have David is going to join Mark. We're going to have Chloe is going to join Mary, but I'm going to come in and onto that session because if Mary is going to be leaving in about 10 minutes, that will just give you guys one opportunity to share a chat. Robert and Teresa will come together. And the way we're going to work this is you've got, let's say, where are we now? Yeah, just come 12 minutes each. All right. So you have 12 minutes to articulate just a problem or challenge or an opportunity to the other person, and then just spend a bit of time working through that and bouncing some ideas off. And then at past, you're going to swap round for about 12 minutes. And then the other person does the same. So little rapid fire round, opportunity to get to know people a bit more in terms of, on a personal challenge or stuff like that. And then we'll see what comes back from that. Hopefully then we'll be around about Cohort 2. Mary, do you think you'll be back by then from your call? Hope so. On mute.
It's a call that might last 2 minutes. It's a call that might last half an hour. I really don't know, because
we'll keep a lookout for you then.
I'll message you. I'll WhatsApp you if it's.
WhatsApp, yeah, we'll keep it note. And then when we come back, then we have a look, just a quick debrief on how that went, and some hopefully some quick ideas. We did this yesterday with the other cohort, went really well. And then we will look forward to welcoming Mark for his hot seat topic. So all good? Everyone okay on what we're about to do? Everyone, any questions, anything? What the hell are you on about, Neil? Just, so I'm going to open the rooms up, and then what we'll do about a minute before we're going to close the rooms, I'll just drop you a little note out on that. And then Chloe, I'll come and join yourself and Mary. All right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, see everyone in a minute.
As I say, it floored me. So I didn't think it would. I just thought it might just be like a flu jab, but actually, no.
Yeah, no. Well, I did miss you, Mary, being then the only female in the group. I think Teresa wasn't here for some.
Oh, she wasn't on it.
Oh, so
oh, bless.
Just yeah. So I had to tackle all these men on my own. Yeah.
Oh.
It's interesting. Everybody, I mean, in fairness, I think Richard was the only person who a couple of weeks ago knew he couldn't join today. And then, I think there's all rather things outside of controls, like feeling crook with COVID the day after, or daughter crook with it and stuff like that. So, but I think, interestingly, I think we had six yesterday, same sort of number today. I think Pedro might join us in a bit, but this thing still works with in a slightly different way.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what we'll do. Mary, you go first. You got 9 minutes now. Just it's a quick sort of anything that's kind of on your mind, or anything that just as a pressing challenge or stuff like that. Just articulate it, and then we'll give you a bit of feedback. And then I'll do then Chloe can do the same to me. All right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, just off the top of my head, then I suppose a topical one as well is just sort of reintegrating the team. I think so far everybody's looking forward to coming back to the office, but equally there might be a little bit of a bedding in period whereby people are sort of trying to sort of get back. And I know me and Neil discussed this before, but it's sort of like setting a reset for sort of like, objectives and working together as a team again, which is obviously going to feel a bit alien after the last 12 months. So I suppose it's just as a challenge, it's just discussing about ways to reintegrate back into working with colleagues again, not just one or two, but actually having the whole team back. So I don't know because Chloe, do you work on your own, or do you?
No, not normally. Try not to. At the moment I have, but certainly, I can sort of talk from an athlete perspective, because they've all been quite anxious about kind of the return to the gym. So we've just done a little bit more in terms of making sure that all on a Zoom call together, so that they're all kind of comfortable with each other. They can all hear each other's thoughts and feelings at the same time, so no one feels they're on their own with their thoughts, if you like. And then we've also, again, we did like a little video of the arena to kind of show them, just remember what it's like, this is the space. And also just reinforcing that the first few weeks back for us, it's not about proper training, it's just about kind of body movement again, movement patterns, movement competences, just getting the banter back in the gym with the athletes. And just reassuring them, really. That's all we've done, is that it is a safe space, and that there are no expectations for anybody to kind of perform straight away. And also just that kind of thing as well, that if anybody is struggling, you know, sort of don't worry about it, just talk to us, sort of
Yeah.
thing. Because everyone deals with these things so differently, don't they?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
100%. I think so. I think I mean, I did a post loosely about it, and I was just sort of saying, you know, about adaptability, because obviously over the next 2 to 4 weeks, a lot of businesses are going to be going through that. So it was just, I did a Charles Darwin quote on a LinkedIn post, and it was just, it's not the strongest or fittest that survive, it's the species that can adapt. And I just said something like, you know, use the next 2 weeks to plan for that reunion of your staff and your teams, just to sort of get everybody back in, reassure them, that kind of thing, just as you've said, really. But I guess that's mine in a nutshell. I just thought I'd think of something that's sort of quite, you know, pertinent. And I think from our point of view, it's just because it's a slightly different business, obviously, to yours, Chloe, but it's more about sort of in terms of sales and the work and the focus, and it's just making sure that everybody understands what their expectations, or what my expectations and my business partners' expectations are for them. So we're all sort of singing from the same hymn sheet. We can sort of crack on, really. But yeah, hopefully it's the first big step of getting back to normal. Fingers crossed.
You know, I think most people are just desperate now. I think most people have just absolutely had enough, and they just want to get back to like being around other people now. You know, especially like, because most people, you know, everyone over 40 has pretty much had the vaccine now, haven't they? So you know, most people are relatively safe. You know,
no, definitely.
So you'd hope, but I guess it's just I think sounds to me like you've done everything the right. Well, not sure if I could suggest anything better.
No, one thing I was going to ask you, that's not about what we've just been talking about, but you know, I do my Recommend a Business Monday on the first Monday of each month.
Yeah.
So if you're happy for me to include you again on it, so it's going to go on the 5th, I think it's the 5th of April, I think it is, because that's the first Monday actually in April. But if you want me to include you on that, I think it's actually Bank Holiday Monday, but I can still post it out then. And
yeah, very happy to do that. I don't know what your theme of your post is, but you know, if it's something around the health and wellbeing agenda, that's obviously what we help our sponsors with. So I think,
well, I can put something about that, because sometimes I put a little tagline with whoever I'm recommending, so I can do that. I put your name on it, so it comes up on your LinkedIn feed. And then, do you want it on your company? Do you want me to put the website?
We've got a company LinkedIn page.
Yes, you have. Yeah. Which do you prefer? Do you prefer either or? Okay. Okay. No, I can do that. Yeah.
That'd be fab. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I started it in February, and then basically there's quite a few people that liked it, shared it, and then in the comments section, what's great about it is that people recommend they give their own recommendations of other businesses, other contacts for it. So it's sort of, and it's because I'm doing it month by month. I was going to do it week by week, but I just haven't got enough time, to be honest. But each month, and then it's nice because some of them can just be sort of very, very small businesses and very small organisations. And I'd much rather that around the local Derbyshire business community than just sort of the corporates that have got loads of money to chuck at all sorts of adverts and stuff. So it's just nice, and it's a nice small business community kind of positive thing, I think. So yeah.
That sounds really good.
Mary, just shared into the chat bar 2 bits of stimulus that will benefit you as well. One is an article on LinkedIn by Keith Farazi, which is about going forward to work, not going back to work.
Oh, okay.
Keith is talking about there is taking on all the good things that have changed over the last 12 months, giving people flexibility, giving people the opportunity to be their best work. And then I've just recognized that there's not just in terms of that LinkedIn article, but there's now a group, or there's a sort of a movement called goingforwardtowork.com. I've just shared that in that box as well. And I'm looking at it, there's a whole raft of not just ideas, but also potential blogs as well for you.
Oh, cool.
Are very present, very in the moment. So I think you can get, when we'll talk about it when we come back from these one-to-ones, these breakouts, but I think it'll benefit everyone else around that.
Oh, fab.
Really good topic, because I think, you know, knowing how to evolve, your Darwin concept, you know, we will need to evolve as a species coming through this, hopefully for the better. And that's what Keith is talking about, evolving for the better, taking all the good things and let's forget all the bad habits we used to have, because we just talk about let's go back to work. Let's go forward to work with
I like that.
positive
I
things.
like that. It's really good,
Yeah.
actually. I've just pulled it up. It looks a really good article.
Yeah, it's good. I used it quite a lot last year. Just actually reminded me with Mary's perspective there that's something we can all benefit from.
No, definitely. Right, I better phone this client. Is that all right? And then I'll come back as soon as I can.
What we do so that's worked out quite well. Had your sort of spot, and then Chloe and I will then just go through one of her little short fast challenges. So what we'll do, you are you going to stay on the Zoom call?
I'll stay on the Zoom call. I'll mute myself and take the video off, and then I'll just phone the client, and then I'll hop back on. That's the easiest, I think.
I think so. Yeah, because I always got to keep an eye out for to let you back in the room.
If I accidentally knock myself out, because I'm doing it on my mobile, because I'm if I mess up, just watch out. If
it is a bit longer, we'll crack on with marks, but I think it's probably by the time we finish and done debrief, it's probably going to be about 10-2. We might have a quick break as well. All right.
Yeah. All right, darling. See you in a minute. Bye.
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 Good. So now you and I, you can have a quick rapid fire.
Oh, what shall I start with? 101 different things. So one of them is a bit of a one with a particular guy that I've just sort of started to work with. I had a conversation with him. He's one of the guys that works for Sport England about how we can collaborate together. And it wasn't necessarily what he was saying, but he definitely made me feel that if I was a sort of 50-year-old guy with a shirt and tie on, it would have been a really different conversation.
Yeah.
And it was really like patronizing and really, I'll tell you this and you should do this with your business. And to be honest, I just wanted to say, just F off, and you've got, do you know what I mean? But it's someone that I've got to work with, I think. So that's a challenge for me, people like that, because I've dealt with it a lot over the years, and I often have this, should I always wear my smart clothes or should I be in my DIS stuff? And does that matter? It shouldn't matter, and all that kind of thing. So, yeah.
It's
one challenge.
Well, I think, from what you're wearing and stuff like that, it doesn't matter an inch. I mean, you've got to be authentic. You've got to be true to yourself and what you feel comfortable in and stuff like that. And obviously what you're wearing now is like brilliant. I mean, imagine that sort of, and, I I've done 8,000, my 10,000 steps a day challenge this morning. So my hoop top's it's just drying out a bit at the moment. You'd be proud of me. I did 4 miles in just over 55 minutes. So at walking pace, that's about nearly 4.4 miles an hour, which is rapid. Good. Even the dog was bloody thinking, what the hell is going on? So I had to, I use a Met belt.
Right,
come across the Met belt, so you can then see how many MEPs you get in a month. And I wanted to get 6,000, so I knew I had to get 200 MEPs, which is this morning before, so I had to go pretty rapid to get the heart rate up.
Yeah. Oh, do you feel better for it though?
I do, yeah. I mean, to see the sun come up this morning at 6:30 over the beautiful Derbyshire countryside, it was just amazing. When you start off in the sort of it is just getting light, but it was darkish, but that was good. So we digress. So I think
it's good.
I guess how are you going to have to deal with this person going forward?
Yeah, well, I've got another meeting with him, I think, but I don't know. I think I spoke to my psychologist the other day, and he was, just reaffirming the whole, you don't know for definite about what he's thinking, even though he's behaving like that. And obviously how he behaves is not a reflection of me. So a bit like what you said, just stay true to who I am. And, if he wants to be patronizing towards me, then that's more on him than on me.
It is. I think if it's something you've got to do a lot and it's a colleague and have you working closely with, you might want to embrace what I call a gift technique.
Right.
Is good intention feedback, good intention feedback technique.
Yeah.
And it goes something like this. So, Bob, you remember when we had that conversation last week and stuff like that? Don't know why it was, but actually I felt like you were being really patronizing towards me. And I just, this is the way it made me feel. I felt anxious, uncomfortable, or whatever adjective you want to use, that how you felt. So you kind of put it out there, you have to be clear about what it is, and then express it in a way that the feeling that you had around that. And I really want to have a good relationship with us, because we need to be productive and stuff like that. But I don't want to always have this sort of feeling of being patronized or whatever it is. And just I wanted to be clear and straight with you around that, because just again, I know you're a good man normally and stuff like that, and you can just adjust your ways, but just want you to to leave, and you almost have that sort of conversation. It says good intention feedback that you give to somebody in the moment. It does require a bit of bravery to do that, but because you're articulating the emotion that you're feeling, then people can understand. Oh, sorry, I never knew. Sorry, I didn't realize. I did not want to come across in that way at all. I never knew that I'd be causing you to feel upset or belittled or demeanored or whatever it is. But he might not have, or she might not have any idea that doing that. And that's to say, if you've got to work closely with people, give them a gift. It's about good intention feedback technique. And say more often now, if you have to do it, not quite in the moment, but as soon as around that.
No, I think that's a good idea, to be fair. Just sometimes one of them where, as I said, it's kind of not, people don't say something that he's not kind of saying, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, but it's the way that he says it. As we know, it's body language and all the rest of it is most of your communication, isn't it? So
exactly that. And that's why, again, he just says, look, you might not have thought about it, but actually, when you shrug your shoulders or roll your eyes, it just again, it made me feel that the point I was trying to get across, you kind of belittle me.
Just bloody rude at the start, when we first got on the conversation, it was sort of like that to me. Oh, just a minute, I'm just doing something. I thought, gosh, that's really rude, isn't it?
Yeah, and again, you can use that same technique to say, look, but when we first started our conversation, you kind of literally paid no attention to me whatsoever. I didn't really feel engaged and stuff like that, and that made me feel very anxious, or made me feel sort of curious as to why. So you have to then couch it in what you saw or what you heard, how it made you feel, in terms of that. And often in terms of, look, I know you're normally a good person and you come across that way. Specifically, you can use that with team members as well. So if you've had, let's say, somebody who's fallen short of achieving a goal. And you say, look, Beth, normally you're so on it and you get everything done and you stuff like that. But last week, I'm not sure what it was, but you felt like you let yourself down. I felt like you let me down. I trusted you to get this done, and that really frustrated me. There's the adjective. I know you can do more. I know you're better than this and stuff like that. And allow them to understand that, and then come up with, actually, you're right.
It's so much easier in sport. Like, it's just so obvious, and I've done it for so long in sport, but in the world of business, I just think like people shouldn't be so rude.
But people are rude in sport as well.
Well, they are, to be fair, and especially with sometimes with female athletes in particular. So, but that's and
I think, again, and we've seen recently, for a lot of bad reasons, there's been some really bad things that happened in gymnastics with coaches, really bad things that happened in swimming with coaches and stuff like that. Some really negative about people who are just patronizing, and again, bullying and elite cycling, and these things that guys can be really that's brutal. They might just say, look, well, this is the way I have to get the best out of guys and stuff like that, to be brutal with them. And some ladies just collapse or just fall apart and stuff like that. I don't think it counts anymore.
No, well, I think that's it. If that was their answer, the response should be, well, you can't coach anymore then, because if you can only get performance through that way, then that's you know, it's not acceptable at the moment at all.
Yeah.
No, it's never been acceptable, but yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully that gives you a bit of structure.
Yeah.
There's a book called The 1 Minute Manager.
The what?
The 1 Minute Manager. Where
Yeah.
where are my books? And that again just gives you some techniques about the 1 minute praise, how to give someone who's done a really good job just time out to say, Mary, you've done a great job. Just want to take a few seconds to praise someone. And then the 1 minute reprimand, which is a similar sort of structure to what we've just gone through from the gift technique. It's a really short, but I can't see it for the life of me right now. It's by a guy called Ken Blanchard. And it's only a tiny little book, but again, it gives you a bit of structure, okay?
Yeah. Fab stuff.
Very good. Mary, how did your call go?
Yeah, no, it was good. It's a sort of a reintroduction, so to a HR manager at a company that we want to work with.
Yeah.
So it was one of those that could have been a really long call if she had a piece of recruitment at the moment, or just you know, this is who we are and stuff like that. So yeah, but it was no, it's all good. She's happy to work with us and stuff. There's just nothing there at the moment. So luckily for us, it was a shorter call, so I could hop back.
Yeah. So yeah, we've just. Do you want to just articulate your challenge to Mary as well, Chloe, to see if there's any other ideas?
Yeah, so I just had a call with a guy from Sport England a few weeks ago, and he just infuriated me, to be honest. He was really rude, and he was it wasn't necessarily what he said, it was just the way that he was talking to me was really patronizing, really kind of like trying to tell me what to do with DIS and how I should run it and all this kind of stuff. And it was just one of them where we sort of kept backtracking and trying to be nice, but you know, there was an undertone. And I just thought, you know, if I was a 50-year-old guy in a suit sat here talking to you, it'd be a completely different conversation. You know, so I'm going to have to speak to the guy again. And it just I was just saying to Neil, I just wanted to tell him to F off, to be honest, and not have to speak to him ever again, because I just thought, you know,
bless you.
You know, it's one of the reasons I wanted to set DIS up on my own, because, well, not just on my own, but away from Sport England and UK sport funding, because some of the politics and the stuff that they've got in there,
Grey Suit Brigade,
are just not great for the world of sport. But that's just my opinion, you know, and obviously his opinion of me is that I'm just some silly little girl trying to run something very local, is the impression I got. You know what I mean?
I think so. I come across quite a lot of this from time to time. So number one, especially when I started out, because I'm a woman in recruitment, which can be more male orientated, so there can be a sort of degree of patronization. And I think when I started out, I was kind of like, I'd take things to heart quite easily. Whereas actually, and it takes practice, it's kind of like a mindset thing. You've got to sort of try and have that inner self-belief that actually, do you know what, I am good at what I do. I've got a lot of knowledge about what I do and how I can achieve it and what I've already achieved. And actually, you know, I am an expert in what I'm doing. I own the knowledge I've got for my organization and my business. And over a period of time, you get to sort of, when you confront somebody who is a bit objectionable, a bit patronizing, as you say, not very engaging, what you have to do, I mean, this is one of the key things in sales, is you kind of have to, whether you like the person or not, you have to try and sort of build a rapport with them. So it can take a piece of time. It can take, you know, several conversations to eventually break down the barriers that person is sort of put up, and, you know, get them to, over a period of time, respect you. But it is hard, and it can be deflating. If it catches me even today in the wrong mood, I can go, oh, for God's sake, you know, it's like, you know, and it brings you down. But I think, you know,
think to yourself, you know, why should you have to bother with people like that? Because most people aren't like that at all. You know what I mean? And, you know, I definitely am very confident with what I know and what I've been able to achieve, sort of thing. So I've got no
you should
doubt
be.
in that. It's more the fact of, you know, when I go back to have that conversation with him, it's, you know, I think that, you know, most of the time you work with people and everybody's lovely, aren't they? You know, and you just have that one person where you think, oh God, you know, I've got to really think and check myself before I speak to this person, because there were times in the meeting where I thought, if I actually respond now, I'm probably going to say something completely inappropriate and go down to his level, and it's almost just,
you have to,
no.
I know it's difficult, but I mean, I do speak to quite a few clients where, you know, it might be a client, it might be a candidate actually. So like when I'm recruiting, you know, there's credit controllers and sort of lower level finance dudes, but then you've got CFOs, you've got finance directors, and some of them can be pretty arrogant actually. They're very self-important in the way they come across. Oh, you're just a recruiter. It's like, you know, So over a period of time, I have to prove that I do actually know what I'm talking about. And I just have to step back from it and just sort of almost, you know, almost be robotic in a sense by just not letting their sort of antagonistic kind of comments get to me. And it's kind of a mindset thing. I don't know what Neil's had to say about this, but I think it's a sort of a mindset thing when you're speaking to lots of people. 80-90% of the people you speak to, as you say, lovely, they're engaging, they're warm, they're receptive, they treat you with respect. And it's the 20%, it's this 80-20 rule again, and it's the 20% of horrible calls and horrible comments and different bits that gets you down. You don't remember the 80% of the great conversations at the end of the day. You always remember that one conversation that you had earlier on in the morning, and that drags you down for the rest of the day. And you've got to try not to, you've got to try and move on.
Yeah, no, it definitely doesn't affect me like that. You know, I'm thick enough skin to kind of take his crap, if you like. So it's not that it got me down. I just find it frustrating. And I think Neil gave me some good advice, just generally a gift technique, basically going straight back at him and telling him how he's made me feel.
That can work. I mean, it depends really. I mean, I've navigated a different sort of slant on it by I appreciate what you're saying, but actually because of this and this, I'll sort of confront it, but I won't be confrontational. I'll sort of steer it round in a different direction so that I'm challenging him and his perceptions. And it can, you know, in your case it was a him, but it could be a she as well, because sometimes people are just quite traditional in their mindset, and they're just because they sort of, you know, 50s or 60s, and they suddenly think that their opinion is the best way, and it's actually, no, it's not. So you just need to sometimes create a little bit of humility.
I might actually try, like next time I meet with him, I might try just wearing like a suit and stuff, and just to see if
play the game.
Just to see, and then at the end of the call I might then say, oh, do you know how much different you were talking to me in a suit compared to my chackies?
You'll have to share that with me, because that might make an interesting blog.
Yeah, guys, I'm back again. About another minute, and I'm just closing the rooms down. So
sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Chloe, it's just that, you know, you just have to accept that some people are piglets, without swearing, and that's what I do, because I've got kids, you see. So I always say piglets if I'm instead of swearing. But some people are piglets, and some people are just, you know, they've got their own opinions. You can try and change them, but then sometimes you just have to accept that actually, do you know what? I'm better than you. I'm not going to rise to it, and I'll just keep it professional. But it's you have to sort of change your mindset about it a little bit, because it used to get me down when I, you know, years ago, definitely. And it does occasionally now, but not as much as it used to.
Yeah.
Does that help?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, all very good advice. Thank you, guys.
All right, sweetie.
Yeah.
Yay.
See you in a few minutes. I think. Well, a few
See you in a
seconds.
minute.
Yeah.
Transported back.
Teleported back into
the Zoom wormhole. There you go.
Robert, I was just about to say, we've now got a team that actually looks after that with a man in a van.
Yeah, it's needed, isn't it?
Yeah, it was the only way we could do it.
Very good. Welcome back, everybody. Hopefully there's some some real benefits from this little rapid fire sessions of just connecting up with one another. So, Teresa, how did that work for you and Robert?
We had a nice chat, Neil.
Good. I thought you might do. Well, when I did my little bit of matchmaking, I thought, well,
Yeah, I think we've put the world to rights, haven't we, Robert? We've moaned about everything in construction, said exactly what's wrong with it.
Yes.
What's wrong with future homes and unrealistic targets of being zero carbon and everything else?
Yeah.
Not enough women in construction, surely, Teresa.
Oh, steady.
I mean, I'm not just saying this, but I think we've got a woman, a lady QS, and then our accounts team are women. We've got a few other people that within the women that are in construction that works, and they're so much better. And I'm not just saying that they work not harder, but more.
Yes, we do.
Smarter.
Yeah,
we work smarter.
all the way, definitely.
They work smarter, and they come up with a lot better ideas than most of the blokes do. It ends up being sometimes a bit of a you sit in some meetings and everything's a joke, which you don't necessarily want. But yeah, I think a mix of both is always good. I'm probably going to on the front of the newspaper because I've said something wrong there. But
I think the thing is, women tend to put a different slant on it. And if you're not totally construction brained, which I'm not because I was like HR, you put a very different slant on it. You don't see things all contractually and whatever. You look at things a bit different.
Yeah, and it is perception as well. I mean, you say, construction, and you've got to be laying bricks and blocks and carrying heavy stuff around and being on a building site. Well, and you've got to be a tradie, which I think sometimes that's where schools get it wrong, because obviously, because when Jacob, he's like one of our junior QSs, when he went to school. He was like, you go to sixth form and then you go to university or you go and get a trade. He didn't even know what the word quantity surveyor meant or what it was. And that is the problem at times, that because everybody pushes trades and not necessarily professional sort of careers in construction. That's why I think that's why women at times don't come into it, because I mean, not everybody I learned very quickly. I've got qualifications to be a bricklayer. I will learn very quickly. I did not want to be a bricklayer and laying bricks for the rest of my life because I don't enjoy it. So I went and did other qualifications. But yeah, that's where I think the problem is within construction.
It is, because it's always been seen as if you don't amount to anything, this is what you'll end up doing.
Yeah,
and you'll be in construction.
Yeah,
I go and talk in schools and colleges, and they're like, you talk to sort of people that want to be a graphic designer or something, and they never consider construction as an industry to go into.
No,
They never look at marketing, business development, finance, all the other sides of it. They never look at it because it's bricklaying, plastering, plumbing.
Yeah. But on the other hand, there's no problem in being a bricklayer or plastering or something like that. I mean, we've got bricklayers that earn an absolute
I'm going to say
£80,000 a year. These lot are earning.
Yeah.
And I always use and Jay, he's worked for us for years, and he earns. I mean, he's slowing down in it as he gets older, but he still earns. I mean, 60, 70 grand a year, and I'm not wrong in saying this, but he can't read and write. But he knows how to read a tape and he knows how to lay a brick, and there's nothing wrong in that. And then there's other people that Jack, one of our site managers, he came up as a bricklayer, but he wanted to move on a bit more, and he's gone into management. And you can do that, but yeah, with schools, they're so bad. Like you say, there's no graphic designer. You could be an architect, you could be an architectural technician, you could be an engineer. There's loads of different things. They don't push that. They don't.
Anyway, Neil, that's sort of where our conversation went. That's how it went that's what we were just talking about, everything that's wrong in construction. I think a good thing for me was, I'm going to try and pass on to Robert how we're putting in a COVID disruption claim.
Right. Great. And I think, again, the benefits of this, you sometimes we've had some groups say, no, I can't have someone else in the same industry in our group, and that would be, but I think, again, obviously, if there is loads of trade secrets, or you're doing something that is going to impact on IP and stuff like that might be an issue. But I'm really pleased with the way this worked out, and that sounds like a really positive conversation that two of you just had. So well done on that. Very good. Chloe, how about yourself and Mary?
Well, we had a male-female kind of chat too, actually. So yeah, one of my challenges was just the way that a guy had sort of acted towards me, like quite patronizing and rude, really, sort of trying to dumb down what I did and tell me how I should do my job and all this kind of stuff. So I was just getting some advice from these guys about, when I next speak to him, and approaching him directly and letting him know how he made me actually feel, because I don't know for sure if that was his intention or not, but if it was, to be fair, I'd just like to kick him in the head, but can't do that over Zoom. And then just again, for Mary, just kind of respecting that that's just how some people are. And
so you got some people, Chloe, that he's probably not doing it because you're a woman. He's probably just doing it because he's skeptical of his own abilities, not the fact that of anything else. But if you want to kick him in the head, kick him in the head.
Well, but she was about to. That's right.
I might be in the newspaper with you then, Ron.
It might have been a woman down for the next session. Where's Chloe? Unfortunately, she's serving a bit of time. Pleasure at the moment. Yeah, just a bit. Mary, how about you? How did you get out of that little session?
Yeah, no, it was good. It was really good. Basically, I was just sort of suggesting about the reset. So people coming back from back to an office setting over the next 2 to 4 weeks, and sort of trying to sort of get the team, bearing in mind what people have gone through working from home, and then sort of easing them back into the office situation, and thoughts around that. And with Chloe, I mean, it sounds like, with her, with the athletes as well, it's just about re-engaging with them, showing them this is where we'll be back to very shortly with the arena and stuff. And then with me, it's sort of just making sure that we've got KPIs and we've got expectations firmly mapped out for what we expect of the staff back in that office setting, and just to reassure people as well, making sure that if they're feeling insecure or they're feeling uncertain or unsure about things, well, how can we help? How can we address that? And working with them collaboratively just to sort of make them feel better about actually returning to normal.
Very good.
Basically.
Yeah, and I've just shared with when Mary's talking about that, a couple of resources in the chat box. One from a guy called Keith Farazi, whose book Never Eat Alone is always a great book. And he talks about, rather than going back to work, going forward to work. And bringing all of the benefits of how we've changed, how we've evolved as humans over the last 12 months, and bringing on some of the really good best traits around that. And then what I also saw there's a movement now, by looks things, of going forward to work.com. So some nice resources there to look at. So thanks, Mary. Mark, David, how did your little one-on-one go?
Good, yeah, a very healthy debate on the office environment. We focused on starting off, taking out the period where children aren't in school.
Yeah.
So imagine you're in a setting where you've got that creativity time during the day without the homeschooling. Are our employees on a pound for pound basis delivering better value for the business in their own seat at home or in an office environment? So when you're really drilling down, are our businesses prospering? Are relationships better? Is there more decorum? Is there more of a uniform internet code where people are more respectful? All those things, when you pack them all together, is there a better end product that is better for the individual by mental happiness, by stability? Does the business become more of a family? Do we make more money?
Brilliant.
And I don't know about that, Mark, but I am sold on a tour to San Francisco.
Yeah.
You made it sound absolutely fantastic. If I could sign up, I'd do it now.
What, 50% discount, Mark? I heard that.
I want to do all the things you said. Cycle across the Golden Gate Bridge, visit the Google campus.
You guys have come up with the next peer-to-peer networking session is going to be taking place in San Francisco.
Oh, sounds good.
You two ended up with a big dream.
Yeah, we mapped out a great schedule. We spoke a lot about one of the areas that we send our school children to, which is the Silicon Valley, with the studying economics or business studies. And, going to this tech museum in San Jose, spending some time at Google and Facebook, going to Palo Alto where Facebook first started, and then finishing with riding a bike over the Golden Gate Bridge, going to Alcatraz. It's these are the reason I do my job is the enrichment that we give children for learning outside the classroom. It's so important. The challenge that we've got going forward is that the world is an unknown entity. It may be becoming safer in the UK, but all those things I've spoken about there as part of that user journey in San Francisco, the simple fact of renting a bike and having that sanitized now, having to wear a mask inside a tech museum, limited numbers in Facebook, Google, or even not allowed because the risk of transmissions, or the whole product has gone through a cheese grater. Well, what's the end result going to look like? Can we still do that, or has this pandemic fundamentally changed the way in which we experience travel? And the answer is, I don't know.
We can always go to San Francisco to find out. So when you just walk through that itinerary, it sounds amazing. I think you can, not only are you going to be doing travel tours for sports in the future, I think you're going to be arranging travel tours for businesses and the tech companies. That's a really good idea. So let's have a quick break. Top of the hour, 10 o'clock. Let's have a quick 10-minute timeout, and then when we get back, Mark, you then good to go?
Yeah.
We'll just keep today's session high energy, really good stuff. And again, these little sort of just changing things around a bit, having a quick one-on-one, doing things slightly differently, keeping things fresh. I think it's what it's all about. So everyone okay? Could we come back at 10:10?
Yep.
Righty.
Cool.
See you in a minute.
See you in a bit.
How's your training going, Rob? How's your training going?
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
All right. All the gear, no idea, to be honest. I bought all my stuff from, I think I might have told you, Velo in Derby.
Oh, yeah.
Brilliant bloke. Absolutely
Yeah.
brilliant. He came to my house, delivered it, went through all there, did the. So yeah, it's going okay. To be honest with you, I've concentrated on just running this past month. I've ran 160k this in March. I got into a bit of a competition on Strava with a few people. So today's the last day, so I'm going to run another 10k today. Just to keep me up there, because I think they're going in for a big number today. So, but yeah, I tell you what, Strava's brilliant.
It is good. We use it with our athletes as well. Like just nice way to connect with everybody, isn't it, and keep track of what you're doing.
Yeah, but I want to get back into cycling a bit more. It's just time consuming. With to get any sort of benefit, you need to be doing 30 odd mile, don't you? Well, that's because I cycle with Mark Fahy.
Oh, do you? Yeah.
So it's like I'll come to my house or I'll go to his house.
Yeah.
30 mile, 40 odd mile or something like that, and it's like 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
On a weekend of when I'm at work all week, I want to be using that time with my kids. So with running, it's a little bit different. It's not as much time.
You can do an hour with running and feel like you've done a good amount, can't you? You know, whereas like you say with cycling, 2 or 3 hours really to get any kind of benefit. But yeah, still. How's Mark doing? Not seen him for ages now.
I went round and saw him on Sunday. He wants a wall building at his house. I'm not doing it. I've told him I'm not doing it, but I'll help you sort out what you need to do. And so I saw him there, and we had a good hour's chat. He's always good. He's always got some stories. Partly because I like hearing his stories. Because he obviously, like yourself, Chloe, he works with some really interesting people. And it's nice to hear. It's nice to hear those interesting stories. I mean, the stories that I've got of I've had a load of stuff nicked off site, and I mean, somebody's given me a load of grief because we took a tenner out his valuation. But so he's good.
Oh, really, it was really good. He's almost too good for where he works, I think.
Yeah.
He has there's a lot of challenges with where he works.
Yeah.
One of the reasons we moved away from there. But yeah.
He was saying to me a few weeks ago, he worked with a guy that he cycled across Europe or something.
Lee Timmis,
that's it. Yeah. What was he doing? Something like 200 mile a day or something like that.
Yeah, that's it. Mark obviously worked with him on the whole kind of physiology side, and Phil that you met a couple of weeks ago, he did all his psychology side. So
Lee, you're saying about Lee Timmis. I know you sort of jumped in. What happened was that with me was that it was at the Marketing Derby bondholders. Oh golly, about 3 years ago now, maybe a bit more. And he did the Dare to Dream slot. So I took a video there and I tweeted it and did different bits, and then I got in touch with him and actually got him as a guest speaker for one of our events. And it was really, really good, actually. It was at Derbyshire County Cricket Ground, and we had different business people that we invited to come along. And he did this whole presentation around sport, mental health, sport, and the value of team working and all of that as well for business. And it worked really, really well. But our event was, I think, the first one after he broke the world record. And what it was cycling from west to east Europe in the fastest time. And he actually smashed the record. Yeah. But on the way, bless him, he'd fallen off his bike. He'd had all sorts of mishaps along the way. Obviously, he's got his sports therapist and different people and dietitians and stuff. But it was a tremendous feat of endurance that he did. And he's such a lovely bloke. So I thoroughly recommend him for any sort of business type thing, collaboration. He's such a nice guy as well. Really chirpy.
You know, with like the psychology and all that sort of thing,
Yeah.
you know, at times people sit there and think, well, you just jump on a bike and go and ride it. And it's completely different. I mean, I did cycle Nottingham, albeit I cycled 100 miles. And at the end of that, I felt like I'd been hit by a lorry. He did that. He did 3 times that for however long it took him. And it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on, Chloe.
It's all right, Mary, you go.
Because I used to do a lot of cycling, and for the London to Brighton years ago when I was fit and healthy, I did a lot of training around it. But cycling is quite an insular, isolating thing, like a lot of sort of sports where you just got one person doing it, and it's it sort of makes you think about things internally and confront, you know, issues that you might have. It's the sort of thinking time that you've got while you're on your bike, and I personally used to find it really therapeutic, actually. But for someone in sport as well, there's an awful lot of synergy. I mean, we got Neil back as well. I got Neil back to do a business presentation thing, and he was amazing as well, because it was all around the team ethos and what makes a world-winning team, and how you can get a team to work together. And Clive Woodward, who was their manager for the 2003 World Cup win, Neil was amazing describing what Clive put in place in terms of getting that 1% extra out of the team that made them go the extra mile. It was just that 1% difference. And if all businesses can just get their teams to put that 1% extra in, that can be the difference to make your team the best. And I just thought that's an amazing message, really.
I'm sure we've got a tool for that, Neil. I'm sure I've read one of your tools about a 1% increase thing. It is something we use in sport all the time.
Yeah. No, the power of one.
That's it.
Very much around, and I think Wendy might have taken Teresa through the power of one. And so just looking at your numbers, it's seven different levers that any business can improve either the P&L or the balance sheet or working capital. And then
it's very, very simple.
It's simple, isn't it?
Yeah, we'd looked at it before, and then Wendy went through it again. It is so simple, but when you've got the right spreadsheet looking at it, when you look at that 1%, what it actually does to your bottom line, it's just ridiculous.
And the nice thing about it is that once you get, and this is, for me, it's extraordinary that most businesses I work with, it's the finance director, maybe the MD or the CEO has got a really good grasp of numbers, but no one else has. No one else has either the commercial literacy or has a visibility of how the company is doing. So how can they expect to make an improvement to the working capital? How can you expect them to make margin gains to gross?
But also, Neil, we've changed how we do it. You know, you said people don't have a grasp on numbers. We've actually looked at it because we're changing our values, and we're having the own it. We've said, how can people own it if they don't understand what they're owning or what difference it makes? So we're actually going down the route of putting all our numbers out there.
Brilliant.
Bit scary, and I'm sure there's going to be some people that go, what the hell? But if they don't understand the bigger picture, they're not going to get it.
The thing is, Teresa, you might as well put your numbers out there because you're over the 12-13 million pound threshold. If they wanted to, they could go on Experian and see how much money you've got anyway. So
that's it. When we publish accounts, they can have a look at them. They'll have a shock this year, but they can have a look at them. Well, it's a good, let's just say it's a good year to bury everything. If you're publishing accounts this year, get rid of everything as though it all went wrong last year. And it's COVID. It's COVID.
Funny you should say that. Everybody has said that. Everything's COVID's fault. So if you've got a problem with COVID, right? We fit the wrong bathrooms in this house.
COVID.
Fault, so we'll put that down to COVID.
I mean, the only problem we've got is auditors have decided to put a certain sentence on, I think, every construction company's accounts, which basically says you're not very good for anything, which isn't useful, but they're doing it with everybody, so it's across the board, so it's fine. Because we saw it and went, what are you doing?
Teresa, hold that thought, because we might just come back to see where time is around once Mark's done his hot seat topic, around this whole notion of power of one, because I think it's a really good thing that we can explore around that. So Mark Gardner, he has been gearing himself up for the last 12 weeks for this moment, getting himself mentally prepared, mentally steadied for this moment in the spotlight. So Mark, over to you, my friend.
Thank you. Picking up on Mary's point there, one of my favourite business books, which has stood the test of time, and Clive Woodward still dines out on a lot of expensive talks on this now, mostly via Zoom, is his book Winning.
Yeah.
Yes.
If anyone hasn't picked up a copy of that book, then please do. And rest assured, it's not rugby boring all the way through. If you're not a rugby fan, don't worry, you'll get a lot of learnings. And there's one, we often read books and remember little trigger points that I call them the beer moments, where you're having a beer with your mates and you always reflect on that because you remember it. It's so embryonic in how it's come through to your imagination. That what Clive wanted to get the 1% and 2%, because he knew that he had a freak team that could win that World Cup in Australia. He knew that there was the DNA. He had multiple leaders in there. So if one captain stepped down, he could pick from 5, and he also had 3 players in that team that were good enough to win the trophy on their individual brilliance. He just had to knit it all together and make sure that they matured at the right point. But he had a lot of battles. Because what he wanted that to be a Ferrari operation. And the RFU, his bosses, didn't have the budget for Ferrari. They had a budget for a good car, but they couldn't give him everything that he needed because he wanted the very best of everything. And he was the first coach that gave all of his players laptops.
That's right.
And he was the first coach that said, do you know what? You're all family people. You can have single rooms so that you can ring your wife and have that privacy. And that worked for some, not for others. He thought, what are all my barriers here to doing this? And cut long story short, that the RFU said, well, sorry, we can't do all those things. And his reply was, well, I need them to win you the World Cup. Well, we can't, we haven't got the money. And being the very pragmatic man he is, said, well, if I can raise the money, can you let me have them? And they said, well, it's a no-brainer. He did something really, really simple. He used his business skills to bring in a bespoke marquee company that's set up on the near the rugby pitch at their private hotel with their manicured rugby pitch, and they held business lunches every period of time where the players came in and engaged, and they found out the right price for that, and all that money went in to give them that 1% budget. And what a guy, what a leader. He may not be recognized as the best out and out best coach, but he knew what it took to find the money to create the 1%, and there's a lot of remarkable learnings in that book. And I suppose it's a nice segue into my dilemma and my problem, which I'm going to ask you all to adopt a certain position today as one of our customers, if that's okay. And I'm going to set the scene where excuse me, if you are a rugby fan, and I know that Neil is, and Rich Beavers is, I don't think Rich is on the call today, is he? They're not ardent rugby fans and followers. They're used to spending sizable amounts of money to go and follow your team around the world. And rugby is one of those unique sports where every 4 years, Britain and Ireland come together to form a team called the British and Irish Lions. It's where fans get together and strangely support one team that only exists every 4 years for about 6 weeks. But it's one of the most popular sporting programs in the world for fans to go and spend that kind of money. And in 2021, well, this summer, between July and August, the tour is scheduled to go across South Africa, taking 35,000 fans to watch that from all corners of the world. Now, out of those 35,000 fans, we have 700 people who are on our register and scheduled to go to South Africa this summer, paying on average £5,400 each to go there, of which the average amount of money they've paid against that, pending their final balance payment in May, is £3,600. So there's a couple of things just for you to write down here: that you've committed legally to a trip for 5,400. You're likely to be bringing your partner, wife, or you may be going as a group of 15, 20 from your local club. It's 60% male, 40% female, large couples driven, and the holiday includes numerous safaris, experiences, events, wine tasting. So it's the ultimate rugby holiday, where the rugby game on a Saturday is the end of 6 days of sightseeing, engagement, going to local schools, charity programs. And we've put together what we believe is the most disruptive type of program to follow a rugby event, because it actually focuses on sustainability, community development. We've got 5 charities. We have a pledge. We've made a pledge to raise R1 million, which is about £56,000, for 5 distinct charities in South Africa, who have already made plans and have started to use the money for the projects. And then this little thing called COVID creeps in, the theme of all of our conversations. And if you're one of many that were lucky to squeeze a holiday in last summer, you may also be one of many that didn't get to go on that particular holiday or trip because the rules to where you were planning on going did not allow it. And like the market, the mortgage market has been very generous. It's allowed people to take payment breaks. Severn Trent Water have been very good in helping people. Consumers have been used to having extra rights, being very well looked after, and that's sort of where we enter the position and my particular problem for today. As a travel business, we are wholly directed by the Foreign and Commonwealth and Development Office, the FCDO, or in old money, the FCO. We didn't really hear much from the FCO before this thing called a pandemic. You'd normally hear from the FCO if there was a terrorist incident in a certain country. Few and far between. Advice would be written on a website somewhere: you're not permitted to go to Israel or Palestine because of the troubles. We as the government don't believe it's safe for you to go there, and therefore you cannot travel there and get any insurance. So if there's a problem in Palestine, you're not going to go to Palestine. It's almost like a common sense approach. Now the whole world is off limits. Yeah, bar none. Unless you've got a special exemption, you're going to get fined £5,000 for even stepping on an airplane to go anywhere. Travel confidence is materially affected. We don't know whether you, as a family, you can go on holiday this summer. It's likely that it's just going to be the UK, and really you should be writing off plans for this year. The rugby element of this trip, the games themselves, are organised by the professional rugby bodies. Our 700 people that go into South Africa, and as part of our trip, and this is a really important part, we do not include the ticket to those games for licensing purposes. So ostensibly, we're providing a luxury holiday to South Africa where they have the chance to buy their own tickets off their own back to the game. That's not deterred any of the 700 people so far, but it's an important part of this directive. The mantra of our business is to deliver the unexpected, and we use the NPS score, the NPS scoring system, which, if you know about that, is a really, really simple way of asking your customers to rate you out of 10, and it gives you an indication of whether they're likely to recommend you to anyone else. If you get a customer service score of a 9 or a 10, then they're positive endorsers of your brand. Apple, one of the leading companies in the world, with an NPS score of 84 out of 100, 84%. The average for travel is 45%. The average for the high street is 20 to 25%. we've consistently, in the 5 years we've been trading, 4 of which have delivered years involving travel, have kept an NPS score of 78% on average. Right? And we've done that by answering yes to everyone with a mantra of, the answer is yes, what's the question? There's fundamentally no reason why we can't make your trip exactly how you want it, because you're the customer. And we've subsequently filled the business with staff who have got all the right personality colours to be very customer survey focused. So we don't employ salespeople. That's no disrespect to anyone here who's in a sales role, but we've never had the need to physically convince anyone to come on our trips. It's the product and the service that does that. So the takeaway point there is that we have a very highly engaging and repeat base of clients that have travelled with us on numerous occasions, merged with, on this trip, half of the 700 are new clients. So it's very much the Pacific meets the Atlantic here. We have the regulars and the newcomers who don't know an awful lot about what we're doing. So an announcement was made last week by the organisers of the rugby events that the tour is going to continue in South Africa this year, probably behind closed doors, so without fans. Nobody expected that. We've been campaigning and lobbying for the tour to be pushed back to 2022. As Chloe will attest, if the Olympics can do it, then these guys can do it. They haven't done it, and they haven't considered that for reasons that are down to the individual rugby union's own travel plans for next year. The South African country is set to lose 3.1 billion South African rand in revenue from tourists not going or spending. There are thousands of suppliers that are affected by this not happening. In January, I personally started a change.org petition, which gathered very, very quick momentum and gained over 7,000 signatures from rugby fans around the world. And that was presented to the rugby governing bodies to say 7,110 people have said, we want this tour moved to next year to preserve the nature of the event and to preserve South African tourism. That was sent in an open letter and presented to the board as part of their meetings. That's been ignored by that. But I headed up personally, not from the business. So the clients here, the majority which have signed that and been very supportive, can see that we are fighting for that trip to be moved in line with what everyone is expecting for next year. The decision, though, is that they're going to continue regardless. If you turn on the news today, you'll see that it's looking very, very, very unlikely that we're able to go anywhere outside of our shores this year. Yet the organisers want to continue this in South Africa. It almost wipes out the possibility of 35,000 diehards going to watch this and having to wait 4 years for it to happen again the next time in Australia. So I have to send a communication this evening to 700 people with the next steps. There's a term called cancellation. That's classed as a capital C in package travel regulations, so the rules of which you operate, the booking conditions of a tour operator. Whoever announces something is cancelled by law has to follow a set of rules. So if we choose to cancel this trip outright, we have to give every single penny back to the customers. Okay, it's a £3.5 million project, and there's been an averages of £3,400, £3,500 paid by every one of these people so far. If this tour doesn't happen, we are set to lose about £140,000 of project costs that have already been spent and are irrecoverable. And that's everything from specialist staffing to 3 very deep and detailed inspection trips, in South Africa to identify the product, the support for the charities that's already been paid out, the cost of doing business, the marketing, the 1.25% of card fees for every pound that's come through the system. It all stacks up into a big pot of cash. As explained to David earlier, that we're the forgotten industry. The government has given us no help through all this, and we're going to lose 2 years worth of trading. We've had £10,000 like every business in May last year. Nothing else, no subsidies, nothing at all. So we're looking at 140k. Yeah. The second part of that is battling to get the money that we've spent in South Africa back from the suppliers. That's a worst case scenario of £300,000. We're expecting to get the bulk of that back through the way that we've contracted. So I'm not massively concerned about that just yet. I'm looking at this number of 140 grand. So my main worry here is not only the cash flowing, giving them their money back, but the loss that the business is going to have as a result of doing this. So back to this cancellation terms. If my wording this evening says we are choosing to cancel it, then my liability goes sky high. So we've written this letter to say, because of the uncertainty of the travel arrangements so far, that the government are due to make an announcement on the 17th of May as to what countries we can travel to on the 17th of May, from the 17th of May, of which South Africa may be included, of which no countries in the world may be included. We just don't know. As the advice currently is not definitive, we are continuing with plans. But we'd like to give you the opportunity of leaving the trip if you feel comfortable. And we have some other things that you can move on to if you would like. One of those options is to transfer to the Rugby World Cup, which is in France in 2 years' time, and all the individual countries are playing there. You can go back to South Africa next year to watch Wales play, and nearly 80% of our customers are Welsh, so that could be an attractive thing. Or you could go to an event in Dubai in December. You can go to blah, 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 blah. There's another 4 or so options. So there's quite a nice list of things that you can go on to. What we can't do is say you can transfer all your money onto that, because that doesn't help me in any way of recouping some of these losses of £140,000. Our booking conditions just about protect us that we can apply an administration fee, but we can't force people to cancel. We can't force people to move. Prior to this letter, I've hosted 2 Zoom sessions where I've set the scene and invited customers to come and join. We had 83 attendees on the basis that people are going with couples, then you could double that. And some people were representing group members. The one guy came on to represent his 60 customers. So a reach may have gone as high as 350 on the first one and up to 140 on the second one. And I've been very transparent and open with everyone about this scenario over the last month. So they've been warmed up. They know there's a problem. This isn't going to be cold, hard news. So 3 things. What I'm doing is writing this letter this evening. There is a draft. What I want to happen is for people to read that letter with sympathy, empathy, and understanding, and agree very quickly what they want to do without needing to pick up the phone, ask questions. It's a lot of people, a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails. We're a very small team. We're all working from home. We have one national phone line, and the rest is the type of communications that we're all doing, which is WhatsApp, emails. So there's a bottleneck problem. I want to avoid that. My aim is for people to say, that's really fair. I understand that. I'm not going to debate that. I don't want to be the customer that causes unnecessary problems because they've explained everything very transparent. I can see that they're struggling here. I am going to sacrifice something and keep my money in that business and travel with this company in the future because they've been very transparent. And fundamentally, this is a shit sandwich and they didn't make it. Like, COVID has affected everybody. Right? That's how I want people to feel from it. There's also the opportunity of having a refund over a period of time minus that administration fee. Right? So people have paid on average £3,400, and there's a percentage that they would lose by transferring onto different types of product. Right? I believe that fee is reasonably modest. It averages around about 5% of what they've paid. And subject to the type of trip that they're on, that would be between £165 and £248 a person. So there's a numerical point here to factor in. Those are the ranges, 165 to 248. So what I'm going to do is send that this evening. What I want is for people to have the empathy, understanding, and acceptance, and to make a quick decision. What I don't want is for people to react badly, feel misinformed, mistreated, or unfairly treated. And when you add those bits up at the bottom, I'd like to move as many of those 700 people through as quickly as possible. So if that's you and you receive that letter this evening, it's a 3-page letter which goes into a lot of detail about the type of money that we lost, where that money's been spent. Very, very transparent, very clear. I suppose it would have been helpful if I'd have had everyone read that before this call, so you could have listened and read those words. But if that's you, what have I missed? What's going to make you say, I understand that, I accept that? What have I failed to see? We're all different consumers. We all have different levels of financial stability. You know what I want to get out of this. It's really an open set of questions back to everyone of, challenge me on it. You're the consumer. Am I being fair? Am I being too generous? Because that percentage number hasn't been signed off yet. What do you think? I appreciate that's quite broad, but I hope I've set the scene. But please ask a question if there's any misunderstanding there.
Mark, are you able to share the letter now? If not, don't worry. Just as I said, if you want the team just to have a chance just to create it, or it might just create more issues than it's in your design. So don't worry.
Mark, sorry, Rob, you go.
You go first, Chloe.
Oh, okay, thank you. Mark, one of the things I was going to say is, obviously in a letter it's just very black and white, and even with the nicest words it can come across quite cold without any feeling. So I just wondered whether it was worth adding in like a little link, and maybe you put in a video of yourself saying it on your, I've stolen that from David telling me to do that around sponsorship, by the way. But yeah, I just think, when people see and hear you talking, you just add so much feeling into it, and you can see how much it really means to you and what you're trying to do.
Yeah, perfect. Brilliant. 100% agree. Yeah.
And I actually wrote that down. I wrote down while you were talking, Mark, a video personal message, because the way you were communicating the issues, crikey, that you've got, people value authenticity, and it's clear that the passion and the care and the thought, not just from a business sense, but also from a community and a charitable sense, you've absolutely eaten and breathed this project for such a long period of time, and you care so passionately about it. And it's actually just, if you could, well, your actual pitch there was actually recorded. Maybe it's a sense of like you going over what you've just done with us on the recording and looking at it, and then actually trying to do something like that again for your customers, like as Chloe said about a link, because I think that makes it much more personal, and I don't see how anyone could fail to be moved by what you said, to be honest. But a letter on its own is just a letter, and it's how much people pay attention to a letter. Some people will read a letter thoroughly, and some won't. They'll just skim read it and think, oh, great, that's my holiday cancelled, which is not what you want. You don't want that antipathy. You want somebody to empathise with the situation that you've got. So, yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's perfectly doable. Yeah, I love that. Thank you.
Yeah. David.
I've got, Mark. I've got a few questions. So it's a 3-page letter, right?
Here's a one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these 700 people, are you saying the average they've paid you towards this trip is £3,600 each? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a give or take.
So
yeah.
My first reaction is, as a customer, there's no way I'd read the 3-page letter. But if I was £3,600 in, I probably would read your 3-page letter and give it the attention that it deserves. I've got loads of questions here. So I can put my customer hat on and tell you what I would do, but again, you are right. It all depends. Different people have different circumstances and different desires and wants, so it's quite challenging. There's 35,000. So you mentioned 35,000 fans that go on typically. Yeah, okay. You've got 700 of them. My first question to you is: there must be loads of other people in the industry that are in a similar situation. What are they all doing?
Yeah, we divide it in two halves. The first half are the official organisers have appointed 3 different travel agents to run their own executive programs, and as part of that, they're going out with a communication where one of their offerings is a full refund. Now that accounts for, out of the 35,000, that would account for approximately 11,000 fans on official programs. But what the difference between them and us is that the average person there is paid less than £1,000.
Okay.
They were holding back on collecting, so the proportion of money.
So I get your objective here. I understand it, or I understand. So what about other people that are not official? There must be other tours that have set up. I mean, do you know what they're doing? But by the way, I know I'm not. I wouldn't give legal advice. I do actually. I've got a friend who runs a wedding venue who's gone through an interesting process where she had to cancel an awful lot of weddings, and there's some interesting nuances around what's a frustrated contract, what's a cancellation, and what's terms and conditions. I think I'm not legally trained, but what you said was the key piece of it. Key piece there: if you cancel their holiday versus they cancel it or shift to another, it's obviously trying to hold that. Yeah, okay. And there's no nice option for you either, Mark, because you've got that great NPS score, and even though half are new customers, you really want to retain. This is repeat business going forwards. So this is I get that this is a complete nightmare. What I'm your customer. What happens if I just ignore your letter and do nothing, and you're sat with 3,600? What's the next step?
Next step are that on the 10th of May, you would then be required to pay your final balance. Yep. And then according to our T's and C's, we review the foreign advice for any particular country 2 weeks before travel. Yep. So on the 4th of July, we would then make a decision at the very, very latest that, because of Foreign Office advice, we're not running the trip, and therefore you are then entitled to your 100% back.
Okay, so from my other experience that I mentioned, there's different sorts of customers, but I suspect you might get a large proportion that will just play chicken with that and wait to get the full refund. Yeah. And on February the 1st, the final interim payment was due, and the news on the potential of this tour cancelling was very much in the open. We were mid-petition at that point. 15% of our customers refused to pay the next instalment at that time, and as such, they broke contract. That's better for you. It's not better for you, but that's the least worst option, right?
Yeah.
It contractually.
Yeah, we learned a lot from that, because out of those 15% who were happy to walk away, and it was a really challenging time for the staff. We had to do quite a lot of sort of group therapy after that, because the phone calls with customers were very long, and we weren't properly trained for it. And we were having to deal with people that were telling us, I've had COVID, I'm not confident, I don't think this is going to go ahead, but you're making me pay this money. And our response was, we're making you pay this money so that you stay within contract. So if ultimately you can't go to South Africa, then your consumer protection applies.
I completely get it. It's fascinating. Yeah, okay.
There is another stat from that. 'Cause those people haven't just walked away; they're prepared to walk away. We negotiated with the bulk of those people and have rebooked them on other trips going forward. So they've still sacrificed an amount of money that is consistent with the levy that we're talking about here. So we have got a case history here where people have been happy and compliant to do that because they understand.
Right. I know I'm taking up a lot of time here. You know, so you said you gave the numbers, but you'd actually had calls. So you're engaging with these 700 or a proportion of these 700 people. Have you just asked them what they want? What level of engagement did you get from them?
We had, well, I think the sign of a good presentation is when you get to the end, nobody's putting their hand up. So after being very open with them on an 8 p.m. Wednesday evening Zoom call, that we had very, very little feedback on it as to what their options were. People understood and almost seemed resigned to the fact that this is current COVID travel life. They wanted to support us, and they knew they couldn't be hammering us too hard for the terms and conditions when it's not our responsibility.
So are they just waiting because it's uncertain what's going to happen? And then your letter, they're waiting for your letter. So I'll give a bit of advice here. What I might be tempted to do, Mark, is I might be tempted to set up a little bit of workflow on a Google form, right? As in, because when you send the letter, that's fine. I think I can put myself in their mind. What is wrong with sending out a 700 links to some sort of Survey Monkey or Google form with a little bit at the top that explains the situation and then takes them through some workflow that basically says, what would you like us to do in these scenarios? And if you do it cleverly, you're doing that thing where, if you ask... if you're giving them a list of all bad options, but you're asking them which one they would pick, rather than you put it like that. I'd be very careful on the wording of the form and how you navigate through it. But what you're actually doing is you're giving them a voice, and ahead of the letter, you're reaching out to them and saying, this is the problem here, and you're my customer. What would you suggest? And maybe list the options to get a feel from it, but obviously word it carefully so it doesn't limit your legal and contractual options later, because I get it. But all I'm saying there is, and I'll let somebody else speak then, is canvass the opinion. You really want to do that anyway. I suspect, Mark, you'd like to ring up, you can't for the reasons you've explained, but in an ideal world, you'd like to ring up every single individual, have a conversation with them, explain the challenges that you're going through, and say, what do you want to do? What's the least worst? Because some of those people are going to say, actually, we're okay to rebook on him, but you're giving them a voice there. That's probably the best I'm going to come up with. Might be useful.
Appreciate that.
Very good. Teresa?
Just building sort of on what's been said, but talking from a bit of experience, because I've just gone through this with the company that I booked my holiday with. This is the third or fourth one that's been bumped now. One I claimed back through the credit card. I've had a big hoo-ah. It was China, Dubai, Japan, and then Dubai again, which I was meant to be going on the 14th of May.
Yes.
The company I booked with, actually sent me an email, quite a long one, giving me a couple of options. Soon as I saw that email, I saw red. Now, I appreciate where you say you know, you can't speak to everybody. But I actually managed to get them on the phone. I had to lie why I was ringing and everything else, but I managed to get them on the phone. When I actually had that conversation with the person, and then they actually put different options on the table to what they put in the email because we were talking about it, I came down off my high horse. They didn't have to pay me any money back, and I was happy with the outcome. Now, I've lost a bit of the deposit, but there was no way I was going to pay for something that I knew I couldn't go on the 14th of May. They turned around to me and said, well, just lie, say you're going for work. And I was like, really? And they were like, yeah, it's up to you how you go. We're providing the plane and the hotel. So, you know, I appreciate where you say, you know, 700 people is a lot, but for me, that personal contact makes all that difference, because the passion and the pain that it's causing you need to be able to get that across. And don't get me wrong, this company tried to do it in an email and I just saw red and thought, I'm not paying you a penny. I don't care if you have to pay it me all back. But and they were in the same situation as you. They would not cancel because they would have to give me a refund, but they were backing me into a corner to say, your best option is cancel and you'll only lose your deposit. We won't make you pay. They were trying to sort of say, it's a good thing we're not going to make you pay for it all, even though you should be. But for me, I just saw red, you know, but actually speaking to somebody, it, like I say, it enabled me to come down off my high horse. And I said to him, I said, why have you made me go through all that? And what he said was, well, it sounded like you needed to get it off your chest. And I'm like, really? You know, I've just lost it with this guy for about half an hour.
Well,
you know,
a trip to China, Dubai, Japan, that's significant cash, and you're entitled, aren't you? You're entitled to have that.
I mean, they were separate ones. Like I say, we moved from China was the first one, which we knew was a no-go. So we thought, well, we'll do Japan and Dubai, safer option. Wrong. But it's that personal thing for me. And I think, you know, if I'd have had you on a video link saying that to me about my holiday, I would have seen different options and been more amenable to saying, yeah, okay, appreciate what you've said. I'm quite happy, look at a different option. I'll do that, but I appreciate there's a bit of cost to it, but you're taking a bit, I'm going to take a bit. It's that personal thing.
Taking the point so far, then, if I do some work on as I go along, that, you know, Chloe's point there of, first of all, record that message and make that as the primary communication, have a link to the letter, and the second part there is opening myself up to another online Zoom, probably this evening, that immediately says, here's the information at 3 p.m. here's the letter, have a read, come and join me online this evening, where I can answer all your questions to everyone at the same time. So we're getting all that wrapped up within sort of 4 or 5 hours, and given that face to face. Now my Zoom I could be on it for 3 hours and setting up various rooms and chats with people. But how many people's questions are going to be relevant to them, but also for 20% other people? The types of question, I suppose, are limited. So
can I just ask, you know, if people don't pay the rest of the holiday when it's due, will you take action to get that money?
No, we would we'd have the option of just cancelling the contract, and that would mean that the money they've paid to date is sacrificed. So that wouldn't be a sensible option for people to do that. We wouldn't go and actively reclaim what they're supposed to pay, but that would still leave an awful lot of money in the way. Yeah. This is it's so useful, the bits and pieces from everyone so far. I mean, it's actually reshaped the whole letter, which is exactly why, you know, I value this, value doing it, and the add-ons so far are brilliant, because actually it's your quote there, Teresa, is that, you know, seeing red. You know,
yeah, didn't care what they put in the letter. It was just boom, I'd gone.
Yeah.
Do you know?
You know, David doesn't want to get the 3 pages because on page 1 you can that natural sort of impatience of why on earth does somebody write me 3 bloody pages in this day and age where our eyes and our brains can absorb a video 80% better than physically reading something. So yes, that makes complete sense, and you can get perhaps more of the, and it's natural empathy as well. There's no bullshit here. We you don't make much money in travel, and that's why people don't stay around for that long. I'd much rather be selling oil or earning a decent income. And I often question myself, why on earth do we work in travel? Because the recompense is terrible. But we
don't go into construction either.
I'm not sure. Everything I heard on these sets of calls sounds like that when you get it right in construction, then you can almost pick your motor.
Yeah.
Just one thing, Mark, I was going to say is with Zoom, because I did a Zoom webinar and it had about how many people booked on? I think it was 320 people were watching it, and it was with John McCarthy. But what I had to do for the first time is I had to sort of do the back end of Zoom and actually do it all myself, whereas an earlier webinar last year, the guest managed it all. And what I was going to say to you as a suggestion was just that Zoom is actually very good, because what you can do is purchase a Zoom, I think it was a Zoom 500 package. So it's a one-off.
Yeah.
You set up, have you done that before? Have you done any of this before?
Yep. We've done a couple of Zooms and we upgraded to the 100 to have to enable 100 attendees, and we got to 83.
Yeah.
Before.
But the 500 one is really, really good. I suppose there's quite a bit around the back end that you can play with, but there's all sorts of reporting that you can access post the event. There's questions that you can highlight, and you can actually have a really good chat thing as well, an online chat. So you can encourage people to actually make comments. And if you haven't got the time to actually address every single query at that time, it will have, their question on there, and you can always come back to them, over the next 24, 48 hours, whatever it be. But there's all sorts of things that you can do with the Zoom. And actually, when I phoned Zoom, they were actually amazing at putting together and helping me, because I'm clueless about these things. But they were very, very good. So if you explain what you want to get out of it to them, they can set it up very, very quickly. I suppose the challenge is now that it's probably, I don't know, about 11 o'clock, is it approaching? And, you want to do this thing tonight. I kind of wonder, is it worth just spending an extra 24, 48 hours to make sure that the Zoom thing is actually better and you've got your head round it, because it does take a bit of organisation, because this is your one shot to make sure that your message comes across. So is it better to just maybe make the announcement today that you're going to do the Zoom thing tomorrow and buy you some time so that you can prepare really thoroughly for the Zoom? That, I don't know if you find that helpful, but if you want to chat to me separately, and I can obviously give you any advice and help I can. But the other good thing with the Zoom, I think it was called the Zoom 500, I'll have to look back, but basically I think the cost of it is really quite cheap. It was 150 quid for the actual Zoom thing, 130 quid, and 11.99 as a monthly thing, which you then have to cancel. So don't forget to cancel it, because otherwise they keep doing the direct debit.
Yeah.
It's actually, it's really cheap. So yeah, and you've got Zoom tutorials and stuff, and I watched a couple of the tutorials, and I'd encourage you to as well. But I think to do the Zoom tonight, maybe make the announcement of the Zoom today, and I'm going to be doing this. Please book onto this, and I'm happy to address all your questions and answer and get back to each and every one of you if I haven't got time within the actual Zoom call. And then you also get an attendee report in detail, which has got phone numbers, it's got the email address, it's got everything on there for every single person that attended. So then you can send up a follow-up email, which is what I do for my online things, because it's like thank you and a feedback form and this, that, and the other, and it gives them the opportunity to have some more engagement. And for you, I guess the important thing there is the follow-up, really, because you've got so many repeat customers. So I hope that helps, really, because I really do feel for you and your dilemma.
It's tremendous, and it's a very paradoxical world, as this is a significant problem. What's taken up all of our days now what I mentioned on the head of the call is that we've given this license to sell for the World Cup.
Yeah.
And in the space of what's been 10 days of opening sales, I can't reveal the numbers, but the just the volumes and the pace, we've effectively sold 45% of our whole ticket allocation for an event that's being held in 2.5 years' time. We're in the space of 10 days to over 90% of new clients, of which we've never had a conversation with. It's online booking. It's absolutely crazy. We thought at best, and this was a little bit of directorial bravado and backing of our product, that we get 15%. So that's given us massive confidence in the future. We still have got to work through this important piece of work, because as it was said I think by David there, is that these are customers and you still want them to be
correct
customers. So that's 700. If 700 stays as 700, wow, what does it cost? What does it cost us in commerce to buy a customer? What's the cost of that marketing dollar to get one? The customers aren't free, are they? They're the parts of cash injection, of sweat, of advertising. So if you put a number on it, there's a potential argument here to say, well, don't put any cancellation fees on them, because they're already yours and they'll stay yours. So how much do you value them? What are their first, second, and what are their primary, secondary, and tertiary earnings for the next 5 years? Can you levy that out?
Yeah.
It's a goodwill thing, isn't it? It's if you've got the customer's goodwill, like Teresa said, it's just how you approach these things. I'm a firm believer that when you've had a bad experience, you put your hand up. If it's your fault, you put your hand up and you say, look, it's my mistake. This is what I'd like to do. This is why this has happened, and this is what I'm going to do to rectify it. And if you can replicate your not pitch, but your initial speech when you were explaining everything, if you can replicate that to your customers on a Zoom as a presentation bit first to address the issue, I fail to see how anybody wouldn't empathise to some point with your circumstances. And also, if they are a rugby fan and 50% of your customers are, they've bought into the concept of what you do, and I think they would be much more likely to empathise with you and actually try and work with you as much as possible. And yes, they might lose some money, but they're not going to be, red flagged and have that red wall of mist descend on them angry wise. They're going to be much more empathetic, which is your ultimate goal. That's what you said right at the start. You want the people to have empathy and understanding for your predicament at the minute. And for you to demonstrate to them that you have empathy and understanding about how they feel as well.
Red wall of mist is on my pad and underlined in sort of circles here. Must avoid the red wall of mist.
Yeah, well, it's ironic given that it is the red for the fans normally you'd be hoping for. I'm going to bring Robin next, because you've had your hand up for a while. Then David, and then Chloe. So that's
yeah. I'm not on mute. I've got a few questions. And I've not written when is it? Because I've tried to July. What date? And
it's an eight game tour that starts on the 4th of July. The primary date where most people are going to be there is the 24th of July. That's the showpiece.
Right. Okay. So I'm not clued up in your environment or arena at all, but why don't you try and still get them to spend that money within those dates? I mean, I know and I don't know what this would take from an organisation point of view, but why don't you try and organise something within the UK? You're saying that expect the unexpected. Why don't you try and push that? Like say and get them to do a tour of wherever when there's a game on. You can try and get them in, I don't know, with these big massive screens and put them in those sort of things. I don't know, rather than assuming that everybody's just going to be shouting and screaming to want the money back or push it down the road, you've potentially got a 140 grand problem here that you've got to try and recover. Why don't you try and do that? I mean, you might not recover all the money, but if those 700 customers are, say, half of them, they're repeat customers, they know Mark and they know Mark does the best for them. What is that not an option that you could push, and then on the back of that you could also get them to rebook for the Rugby World Cup, so you've got your 3,000 quid plus you've got them coming back again for in the future. I mean, I know obviously that it's a difficult situation, especially with travel, but I'll go anywhere. If somebody offered to, I've got a 2-week holiday booked in September, but if TUI rang me up and said, look, you can't go abroad, but we can sort this out for you within the UK. To be honest with you, I'd probably take it, because people are sick of these 4 walls and the roof over their head, and they want to go and see a bit of different scenery. Albeit, I would say July, you're probably guaranteed better weather in England and the UK. Whether that is an option, like I mean, it's 3 months, 3-4 months till then. Whether you can pull that thing together, but you've got people's money. You need to try and get them to spend it, and if you can get them to spend it within the UK, and you can pull something together and give them a memorable holiday for 6 or 7 days. Whether it's in the UK, South Africa, on the moon, who cares? I don't know. Like, I know it sounds very somber and down, but I mean, there's a little bit of by the sounds you may be giving up with this July dates. Don't give up. There's always options, and maybe this is a different slant that you've got to do on it. Like I say, other tour operators maybe just won't do it. Or, I mean, you're like you say, you're a bit of a smaller brand. Maybe you can convince these 700 people to do something within the UK that you can get them to spend the money and spend more money a year down the line for another one, because you got them to go abroad in the UK.
I love that you've got all the creative juices going here. The word that we have to focus on is outdoor. You could think that if these games are happening as planned in South Africa, we can have a big screen. We've got plenty of hotels that would love to welcome us. But you end up with, can we put 500 people or so in a big conference room and watching it? Well, that'd be amazing. You've got walls and you can protect from the elements. But of course, whilst we're still in this pandemic period, all the advice now is, you've seen all these visuals of people indoors, all these graphics and the COVID in different colours going everywhere. All I'm thinking is, oh God, imagine you got 500 people there, you're drunk, shouting at a screen, and all this COVID flying everywhere. So outside, yes, it's change. I suppose changing the conversation a bit here is that we'll bring it to you.
Yeah, exactly. You don't need 500 people. I mean, in June or July, I mean, people go to Glastonbury and it rains all weekend, and they're stood in Glastonbury, piss wet through, I mean, in piss, and they're absolutely loving themselves. If you can get something that's outside in July, you've got something. The weather is hopefully, fingers crossed, going to be a good time. If not, give them ponchos. Do you know what I mean? It's Glastonbury, yeah. And then, I mean, try and get South African themed stuff. I mean, I'm not a wine person. I'll drink wine if it's put in front of me, without a shadow of a doubt. But you can still run events. Do you know what I mean? Sure, there's wine stuff in England and everything else. I mean, I've walked more in the past year than ever I've done, and there's some absolutely beautiful scenic views around the UK, within my 5-kilometer radius, of course. But yeah, there's some brilliant events that you could put on within those 6 or 7 days, like you are doing in South Africa. Unfortunately, it was just on the British roads. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
love that. That's etched in. I'll get straight onto that. Thank you. Brilliant.
It's interesting. I listened to Emily Evis on the way into work this morning, who was talking about Glastonbury and how they've innovated this year to have the Worthy Farm live stream event that's taking place in May. And just to build on Rob's point, they've innovated because they clearly can't have people come to Glastonbury. So I think there's a lot of great stuff from Robert's perspective there, and actually might be able to reach out to many more than 700 people coming to a stadium in Wales or wherever it is to host this, and to put the whole MSD experience down to even more people. So, but the 700 already invested, get even more of the VIP. So lots around that. David, just you had your hand up a while back.
Go on then. Yeah. Okay. Just quick one, Mark. Is it 100% confirmed that this thing's going ahead behind closed doors? That's not going to change, is it?
We've all got used to hearing advice and decisions based on current circumstance. The message last week from the British Lions and South African Rugby was that a decision has been made to continue the tour in its current format. For a while, they were looking at even moving it to the UK, which thankfully has been quashed. In South Africa, they are preparing for their third wave in mid-April. They turn to autumn and winter, opposite seasons. They're preparing for their third wave. Like the UK, there are no live crowds in stadiums. So the advice is we're going to continue as it stands based on current advice, which is behind closed doors.
Got you.
Subject to change.
Yeah. So that could change. The best option for you was that they just said, we're going to pick this up, we're going to shift it into the future, because then you just go back to all your customers and say, right, well, you're still on it, but it's going to happen further down the line. Everybody's happy. Okay, that was the best option. That option's been removed. What's the next best option for you? What would you like those 700 people to do?
It's pick what else that you fancy from our wide and diverse range of sports trips, whether it's the Ryder Cup in golf or the World Cup, where you can follow your own country there in 2023 in France, or if you're a Wales fan, and perhaps fortune is looking down on us here with the biggest percentage being Welsh fans, is let's do the exact same experience next year, albeit following one country, not four.
So I'll give you a bit more advice, right? The stuff around empathy is fine, but we're all on this call and we care about you and your business. I'm not being funny, Mark, but out of those 700 people, a lot of them could not give a crap, could they? Yeah. So I would be very careful with the empathy point. I think your job is to sell those other options as the best thing for your customer. That's what I think you do. And be careful about appealing to them. I'm not being funny, but consumers have now got it drilled into their heads that they can get anything they want from a business, that I'll get a full refund. I'll actually, you send me that letter, and to Teresa's point, I'll see red, I'll ring you up, I'll have a go at you. I don't care about you and your empathy. You're going to give me a full refund. That's what my right is, which by the way, may or may not be correct, because I haven't even read the terms and conditions when I booked. I haven't got a clue. I'm not going to read them either. I'm going to ring you up and have a go at you. I'd just be careful. I can feel the empathy. You could get some of that across to me as a customer, but some customers, you're not going to be able to break that barrier. It's a lot of money to them. They're not going to care. I think your job is about giving me as a consumer, these are your choices and options, and your job is to sell that to me, I guess, as the best thing for me to do. I think, you'll get a proportion of them, and I think all the video stuff's a good idea. But do you want to go down that route of people feeling sorry? It's going to sound really harsh, but if you put that hat on, I don't care. I don't care. I get my money back. I don't care. I go to my credit card company. You're now boxing. I agree with what Teresa said. It's a game of chicken. If I've got half a brain and I don't care, I'm going to work out where you're trying to box me and you're trying to root me in. I'll get my money back. Then it becomes I'm going to get my money back one way or another. And you don't want them there, do you?
No, but look, I'd like. Can I answer? Can I come back to you on that last point? So
Yeah,
If-
that's not me. By the way, Mark, that's not me. I'm putting
No,
my arsehole consumer hat on. You know what? I'd listen to you. I'm an SME myself. I'd say, you know what, this guy, yeah, okay, he's put some options. This is what I'd say if I'm one of those customers. Do you know what? I feel for this guy. It's a challenging time for us all. Actually, he's done the right thing here. He's given me some options, and I'm going to take one of them. I'm going to lose a little bit of cash. I'm going to have to change my plans, but actually, I'm a positive-looking guy. And that's a great idea. Let's, and I want to box it off as well. Let's box that off. Let's take his option. Let's box it off. Let's get it in a diary. Let's go forward. I'm that customer. There's a lot of people who are the other customer, but yeah, go on.
It's those people that say, no, I'm going to dig in. I'm playing the chicken. The amount of money that they're protecting fundamentally is between 165 and 250, and to do that, you've got to keep paying your last £2,000 in May to do so. So it's almost like
they're gonna pay it, are they? You're gonna run them down to the cancellation. Yeah, okay, I get it. Yeah,
you know, it's like death by 1,000 cuts, as the saying goes. Is that
okay? So last thing then, bearing that in mind, if you can find a way to communicate that to me without boxing yourself in a legal corner, in other words, what you really want is a blunt and honest conversation that says, this has been shit for everyone. I've worked really hard here to put these really great options in front of you. But by the way, if you choose to go a different route, you know, this is the likely outcome. But if you can find a way to communicate that to me without putting yourself in that box where you're cancelling me, basically, that's the skill. I think you're all right on it, Mark, to be honest. I'm positive. I think you're gonna have to deal. You want it boxed off, don't you? So you're gonna get some calls. You are gonna have to deal with them. But I think you've kind of got to. These are my 700, and I've got to get them all from here to here. And you know, you've got to prepare your team. I think for this is the strategy. These are the comms. Right, brace yourself. Let's get them over here. Yeah. I think you can do it, to be honest. And then in a week or two, when it's all done, you'll feel a million times better.
brilliant?
Chloe.
Mark, I was just going to pick up on the bit about David just picking up there, the bracing yourself and doing what Clive Woodward did and do the whole what if scenario and just kind of going through that with the staff. Because it sounds like you've got a plan in place for how you're going to initially approach them, but might just be worth that what if this, what if they say that, what if they do this, and all that kind of stuff, and preparing all the stuff for every eventuality that you could face. And then the second one was the unexpected thing. I wonder if on your Zoom call you could get one of the rugby players on.
Yeah, like that. Yeah.
I know quite a few South Africans, but not rugby players. So if you need help with just general South African sports people, hockey and cricket, I can help you, but not rugby, I'm afraid.
And the impact of that, you're thinking that it helps authenticate by having somebody on our side there, but also perhaps to control the mood music a bit better, keep more of a level tone?
Well, I just think, you know, the players themselves are the most hard done by here. You know, they don't want to play in an empty stadium. Do you know what I mean? They've spent their last 10 years of their life preparing for that day. And, you know, to be in that moment where there is no people there, that it's almost like a heartfelt message from a player to say, I'm absolutely gutted that you can't be here with me. Can you be here with me next year when hopefully things will be better? You know, I know it's a bit playing on emotions again, and David's nasty customer might just say, oh, I don't care about him either. But hopefully you'll have some people on there with some real feelings, and
you'll always get a few. That's what I'd prepare yourself for that percentage of people that take that.
Yeah, goes back to that guy I was talking about earlier that I had the conversation with. He'd be one of them idiots.
Oh, that's amazing. Is right, Neil? Have you got anything there?
Obviously, given that I've got a house in Cape Town, and in fairness, I did reach out to them last week and just said, look, on all accounts right now, it seems unlikely that we're going to be able to join you in the summer. We're feeling gutted. We really want to come out because we want to help the South African economy and In fact, I hadn't actually checked my T's and C's, but they came back to me and said, Neil, look, absolutely fine. Since you were reserved this property back in, I think it was middle of last year, we're now allowing you to cover your property forward, or if you want to no longer want to go, then there's no penalty or anything like that. You'll get your deposit back. So I paid 50% up front, like a lot of your guys have, of the deposit. But I want to continue to support. So I'd like to think as a consumer, and I think David's point is right, you will get a percentage who couldn't give a shit. But I think you'll get a lot who do care passionately about the sport, care passionately about what this stands for, and will see through the endeavours you're making that you're doing with the right intentions. You're with the best intentions to do what's right for the players, do what's right for the fans. And by the way, what you're doing to help the South African economy with that charity and all the stuff like that is huge as well. So I think getting those messages across is clear. And then for me, as you and I spoke about, we will probably look to go into South Africa next year. Can't go this year, but there's a Wales tour in next year. We're all up for that, you know, and if we can keep the same property going forward, enjoy the whole experience, celebrate like we've never celebrated before. It will be slightly different, but doing that. I love Rob's idea as well. I think of, if it is going to happen in South Africa, no fans, good news is we've got contingencies. So you can come and experience. So, you know, in a venue, you may, well, if it's in Wales, you know, somewhere that maybe a big marquees or stuff like that, and get the players coming down and around that, as you would always do, and have South African braais and, you know, the whole sort of experience you might be getting, which might lead you to a broader audience as well. It might, you know, that 700, it may just say, actually, there are tens of thousands of people who would be coming together anyway, and you're just going to bring that family together. So yeah, I think there's been some amazing builds and ideas just from this session. It's been, well, truly amazing in many respects, because I think as you started out so emotionally an hour ago, I think we all felt for you, like, crumbs, who wouldn't? I probably feel it more keenly because I love, you know, what you do. I mean, I'm probably your core customer. If someone who went to the World Cup in Japan, someone who's going to go to South Africa has already got the property lined up, someone who played the game, someone who loves the game, you know, and you've got all that. So I think, you know, the challenge you've now got is all these great ideas. It's how you, in the next 24, 48 hours, really distill these down to hit the right chord, to hit the right note.
What strikes me is that we've gone through a journey on this call where I'm grateful that everyone's seen the sort of the natural empathy here, but all the entrepreneurs, the skills that are coming out is suddenly do this, put this event on, do that, do that. Now we're capitalizing on the situation, and that's I suppose that's why we're all here, eh?
Huge. And again, just like Emily Evers did, look, we could feel sorry for ourselves that we can't run Glastonbury this year, and but actually, there's a whole industry we can help. So we can help with Coldplay, you know. So there's lots of parallels that they've gone to the assets like Coldplay and whoever else is in that lineup, and just said, look, things are different, but we can still give a product. We can still help the industry. We can still help that, you know, the musicians. We can still help people. We've got a vested interest in tens of thousands. Actually, we can reach a broader audience, because we can only get 1/3 people come to Glastonbury, but we can actually have 3 million people in May absolutely embrace the whole thing that this is about. I think just to position it at about 50 quid for a ticket or something like that, or 28 for that ticket. So I think get this first thing sort of resolved, the communication, and then I think you can then talk with excitement about what the other options are.
You should do it at Shiny Brewery in Little Eton. How about that? Get Pedro in.
Fantastic.
Pedro can make the beer, so I think he can come up with a brief to come up with the Lions beer, you know, so that you can commission him to do that, and he will come up with something that, you know, and part of that. Boy, he's got. I mean, just going through, being taken around his little brewery on Monday. Again, the passion he had, and he's developed his master brewer and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm sure he can come up with something that is the unofficial Lions brew.
Can you custom a beer, Neil?
Yeah, 100%. You literally give that boy a bit of an idea, and he will have a Springbok flavour in it or whatever it is. He can into that thing. So you know, you can, yeah, definitely. It might be a bit limiting though, the size wise, to what you're after in terms of outdoors. But maybe you can have something that allows rugby clubs to organise their own Lions sort of experience doing things differently. Maybe you can. I mean, how many rugby clubs are there up and down the land?
Thousands. The potential venues here are limitless, because it's the rugby clubs, of course, that have suffered with the no income, and you know, they make perfect settings. It's being able to guarantee a lovely blue sky Saturday in July. How do we do that? Who knows God? Neil, you must have a route in there somewhere.
No, but I'm just thinking around even in Derbyshire, there's maybe teaming up with venues that have got marquees and stuff like that, you know, that because some of the pub chains have had to be very, very agile as well in terms of the next few weeks from, is it 12th of April? You know, they've created almost outdoor experiences, because you can't drink indoors, but you can drink outdoors. So they're the ones that are really on it. I've got marquees come up with the no size down the side. And you think, hang on, what's the difference between indoors and outdoors? You've got a roof over your head, but evidently it counts.
Just one thing. I know the head of finance for Wasps, Leicester, isn't it? Is it Leicester? Where's Wasps?
Worcestershire.
Sorry?
Isn't it Worcestershire?
Is it Worcestershire?
Yeah.
Coventry and
So, Coventry, yeah. So it's around there. But yeah, I spoke to him a couple of weeks ago, and I don't know if you want me to give you his phone number, Mark, and then you could always have a chat to him. I don't know. I don't know if that's useful.
I'm just thinking back to the experience that I had in Japan. Did you get down to Oita?
Yeah.
Now, obviously, I mean, the weather was just amazing, but that whole fan zone that they set up, quite a lot was marquees, but it was just for everyone else who's on the call. Oita was where Wales played against Fiji, and there's a few other World Cup games there, quite a long way from Tokyo, but in the center of Oita, everything was set up with a fan zone, big screen TVs to watch the game if you weren't going to the game itself. All the bars around it, the Welsh had actually got a couple of bars that they, Tours has got. I don't know if you had one of the bars, Mark, but one of the number of the tour companies had bars just taken over, for the Welsh supporters. And then lots of concessions and areas where you can have barbecues all around it, and bars where you can drink, stuff like that. So it's almost, if you could replicate that experience of the Lions fan zone in downtown Cardiff or in London or Murrayfield or wherever it is, and have some sort of, again, that's the challenge you'll have, is, I would imagine, is that branding with the Lions, it's a logo that is owned by the Lions, and they may have rights themselves, but it may be a win-win for everyone.
Love it. And the fact that Cardiff Arms Park has got a 3G surface and big screens makes it.
Yeah, that whole experience that shit happens, we can't go, but the next best thing is we're going to bring the Lions experience to you. And you know what? There was a load of folk who would have gone to Oita who didn't have tickets. Didn't have tickets to the game, but they were just said, actually, the experience in the fan zone and being, that was the next best thing. So you think the next best thing that you can come up with is we can't be there. It's not our fault. It's not your fault. It's not the player's fault. You know but the next best thing is a Lions experience, and we bought for you from the people who like to think differently.
Love it. Thanks, guys.
Some of my best holidays have been in the UK growing up. So, and that will go the same for most people in the UK.
That's awesome. That's I just can't wait to finish the calling and make some calls with the team and report all this back. So you got me from nervousness, that anticipation, that pre-event worry, to absolutely buzzing now. So thank you very much for that.
That's amazing. Yeah. Any other sort of thoughts before we then just ask Mark to try and summarize all the different things from his buzzing? Any sort of final comments? This has been an extraordinary call today. So Mark, just in terms of, and I know you sort of almost did a quick halfway summary from what the sort of first 3 or 4 ideas. What are the key takeouts?
Well, I've got the team working on a project today, and straight after this, I'm going to ask for a down tools for my managers and the other directors. Ask everyone to come on to a call about 12:15, so I can report back what I'm about to address here. That having spoken to you guys this morning, there's some really clear takeaways, and the headline is the red wall of mist, and how we need to have that as the number one. That it's accepted now that writing a letter to people is not going to cut the mustard. So we'll take this to a video conferencing facility. Once a month, we do what's called a Lecker Lounge, which is a live broadcast with people from the rugby world. So I'll speak to our tech guy and reset that up to deliver this message on a live platform, and see if we can get one of our South African players, as per Chloe's suggestion, to join. And I'll ask Ross Harris, who's our head of media and events. He's an established broadcaster for the BBC who does that session, to host it for impartial, so he can take any customer calls and then address them to me. So it gives it takes away the bias somewhat, and we'll keep that as a live forum. In the meantime, I'm going to make direct contact with Cardiff Arms Park and Newport Gwent Dragons, who both have big screens and private venues that are both close to train stations, to capitalize on Rob's suggestion and Neil's further suggestions on why don't we create an open space that we can commercialize and turn this into a value proposition. So the loss of 4 or 5% actually is repaid in kind by coming free to these events and having that exclusive VIP status with benefits over to anybody else. Taking David's point there of making an assumption that people need to be resold on the other options, we should bring that to the forefront and prepare ourselves, which everyone suggested, of not being able to please everyone and saying that I use like in our business, being comfortable, being uncomfortable, that there's going to be a percentage of people that do not like anything that we put out, because all they want to do is get their money back. That's okay. They're okay. That's their belief. We're appealing to the masses. We're appealing to our NPS score is 78%. We need to keep 78% in our line there. We won't get torn up by those that want what's right for them for their own circumstance. We'll go with the majority. And fundamentally, let's keep doing what we've always done, and that's do it our own way. I happen to jump on the D2N2 call this week, if anyone joined that, with the COO from Brewdog. Now, if you know anything about the Brewdog beer, is that there's 2 guys from Aberdeen who decided to rip up the whole beer industry for life, and what they've done to craft beer has influenced the world. And sat with that guy on Monday, it was incredible. He said a few lines of, "We'll be the we're the zig to everyone else's zag." Okay, which we loved. And there was one slide which he shared, and let me read out a section of this. It won't take up too much time, I promise. this was a popular one for within our directors. They were talking about what they've done to the beer world. They said, together we can set a new standard for beer and for business on a global scale and build one of the best companies of our generation. We're in the driving seat of the beer industry. So let's grip the wheel and drive it like we fucking stole it.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Use language. That's just quoted verbatim. There. It's not my profanity. I'm just passing that on.
Yeah.
Interestingly, with James and at Brewdog, they have positioned themselves as the David versus the Goliath of the big horrible the big beer companies. And yeah, actually interesting that conversation I had with Pedro on Monday. That with Pedro getting real clarity and real vision about where he could take it, where he could take his business, is similar to what Brewdog have done. He has got an amazing product, amazing energy, an amazing brain, and there's plenty of room for more people like that. So it's inspiring. Hopefully, you got something from that, Mark, in terms of how you can be the same within the travel industry and what you're looking to do and the way you position yourselves around that, the way you think differently to those challenges, the way you innovate.
And by the way, you're all invited.
Yeah.
But
Yay!
wherever we do this, consider yourself wearing a lanyard with VIP on it, or VVIP, as the VIPs like to feel treated now that they need that elevated VIP status. So I'll get the jacuzzi set up. We'll all be drinking Pedro's beer in champagne glasses in July.
Sounds amazing. I'm definitely in.
And we'll call it the Red Mist Lounge.
Well, you might call it the Red Mist beer as well. Then I'm sure you can.
Yeah.
I just went to who comes up with all these crazy names for beers? And I mean, in fairness,
The Red Mist. And
we did a good transaction. So I gave him a copy of the Scaling Up book, and he gave me a 24-pack of beer. So I thought that was a hell of a deal. So not to like from an hour or two outside together, and then that transaction. So all good. So it sounds like you've got huge amounts to think about there, Mark.
yeah, I'm buzzing. I really am. My mood is considerably upbeat from I actually expected there to be more to get hammered a bit more on this of treating the customers a little bit more fairly, but you've changed the weather, and thank you for doing that.
Yeah, I'll tell you what we'll do. Just it's a nice sort of quick learning topic, and it really builds on. Let me just share my screen quickly. Can everyone see this okay?
If I put my specs on, yes.
Yeah. Do you recognize this, Mark? It's from Clive Woodward. Yeah. Sort of, I saw him speak at a conference back in 2013, but he uses this model as the sort of definitive model with regard to getting the most out of people. So Chloe, it's a great model for you as well in terms of that. So what he says in terms of a hierarchy of performance, and this can be used in the sporting field, this can be used in the business boardroom. And he says, look, regardless of anything else, the starting point, if you've been great at business or you're going to be great on the sporting field, you do need a degree of talent. You do need a degree of ability to get that. So that's on the one hand. And you said the way you can then build on that talent or that ability is through coaching and building skills out. So if it's on the rugby pitch and it's learning how to pass better or to scrummage better, you coach those skills. Then what his next thing he's looking for is a student, someone who has a student or a growth mindset. And here the people are differentiated for either being a growth mindset or having a fixed mindset. And so the student is somebody who comes at it with a growth mindset. Someone's like a sponge. You just want to learn. They're always curious about the game. They're curious about the history of the game. They're curious about the history of the business. They're curious about how they can make better. They're curious about learning from the very best. They've got this learning mindset, and they're very teachable. And what he saw in the run-up to England winning the World Cup is that he had, a year beforehand, a squad of brilliant, talented people, but he felt there's 7 or 8 in the squad who didn't have a growth mindset. They came at it with more of a fixed mindset. They were rocks. You taught them everything. You gave them a laptop and they said, I don't need a laptop. Why do I need a laptop? I know everything. You said you might know everything, but if you're going to be in this squad, you've got to have a desire to learn. You've got to be teachable. You've got to want to grow. So he took them all down to the squad, down to the South Coast, and put them with Marines for a couple of days of extended hard graft. And he said to the Marines after, I want you to tell me those people in my squad who you think have got a fixed mindset and those that have kind of got a sponge mindset, those who want to learn. And the Marines came down with 6, 7 names, and they were correlated with Clive's 6, 7 names as well, who didn't have that student mindset, the desire to learn. It didn't matter how good they were at their skills or how good they were talented on the rugby pitch. They didn't make the final cut. If you were rocks, you didn't make the final cut. And it's the same in business. I see so often people who bring an I know mindset. You can't teach me anything. I know about running business. I know about blah, blah, blah. They're not going to flourish. So he talks about that importance of character. The next thing you need to have is character, this warrior spirit. And right now, Mark, like a lot of people, are under a lot of pressure. Do I get this right? Do I get this communication right? Do I make sure that everything that we do is right? Or in the moment, in the run up to the last 2 or 3 minutes of a Rugby World Cup final, and you've literally your wits end, you've got different decisions to make. Are you able to think correctly under pressure? And what he calls teacup. And what we've been doing today is a perfect example of getting different scenario planning down, just like you would do in the practice before a game, is to work through what could happen, different happenings. And he knew for one game in the run up to the World Cup, they played the South Africans, that the South Africans were going to come at it ugly. They were going to start to try and get a fist fight, develop punches and stuff like that. And he said, this is going to be coming down the line, guys. You need to be able to be ready for this and to think correctly under pressure, because when that guy smacks you in the face, your normal instinct is to smack them back in the face harder. And Martin Johnson was one of those who would do just that. He said, look, if this happens, we've got to keep our cool. And we've got different ways of playing that. So that's what he calls teacup, or thinking correctly under pressure. And then the final criteria is this champion character. He says there's only going to be very much, even in top teams, 1% of that top team who have the mindset, the champion mindset, who will go on to top it in the Olympic gold medals, who go on and just have the ability to pick up the Rugby World Cup. And he called out likes of Johnny Wilkinson, who would stay after training and have this champion mindset, who'd have the will and the hard work just to make him very different. And it'd probably be exactly the same. There's 4 or 5 people in tennis. You could count Federer, you could count Nadal, maybe Murray, who are right at the top of the game, who have that champion mindset. The same in motor racing, same in horse racing, same in athletics. Very powerful slide. I'll take a screen grab of this because it's big. The whole presentation's pretty big, but I'll send it round for you.
This is why our stuff is developing, inspiring, and supporting champions. I've took loads from Clive Woodward.
Is that right?
Yeah, we did. I've seen Clive and heard him speak many times. So as have other people in the team. So he's definitely a character within the performance sport world that most people in performance would completely respect everything that he has to say. So yeah.
It is great, but I think what is really exciting nowadays, and this is where I get a lot of energy from, is drawing out how do you get peak performance on the sports field and then translate that to peak performance in the boardroom. And there's great parallels. And as Mark said, Clive is as well positioned because he was a successful business person before he came in to become the coach. Before that, he was a successful rugby player. So he had the elements of being very good at business, a good entrepreneur, and ultimately becoming a good, a great coach as well around that. So some amazing lessons that we can take out from today as well. So Mark, thank you so much for being so brutally honest today, sort of, you know, being able to have that degree of fragility. Because I think, again, in leaders, when you can come to anything like that with a degree of fragility and let people know that you haven't got things sorted out, ultimately you become a better leader. You become a much better leader when you're able to come at things with this notion of, actually, I'll take down the veneer of I've got everything sorted. I'll take down the veneer that I've got everything under control, because in reality, none of us have. But when we're able to open that to others and to their sort of guidance, then that's where the real benefits of days like today really come about. So it's been massively powerful. I think this, you know, this whole thing you think about is really powerful around that. So so good news is, I think I mentioned this to all of you, that the D2N2 LEP, more importantly the chamber, have found some extra money to continue these cohorts. So the saying that we haven't got quite everybody on board today, but I think I know, having spoken to most of you on one-to-ones, that you say, yeah, of course we want to continue. Just get some feedback now, because if this becomes your group, yeah, I'm just be there facilitator, but ostensibly this is your group. This you kind of bring together as peers. What would be the optimal timing for you? Obviously, because we had to get this done in 3 months, we've kind of really gone at pace, and we've had to do it in 3 hours and kind of done fortnightly. But if it's over the course of the next 12 months, what would be the optimal time in terms of frequency in over weeks or months? And then how long should each session be? Just to really get be interested to hear your feedback now.
Personally, I think fortnightly is good. Twice a month is good for me. 3 hours is a little bit too long from my point of view. It's a long time for me to be engaged for 3 hours, to be honest, Neil, as you probably know me well enough to know that. But if it was a couple of hours, that'd be, I think that'd be helpful. But yeah, I would carry on doing it on a bi-weekly basis, certainly.
All right.
I concur with that. I'm a big believer in rehearsal, and if we did it once a month and you missed it, 2 months, we get rusty. This is good leadership rehearsal and business rehearsal. So 2 hours every 2 weeks, I think is perfectly poised, just to keep us sharp, keep us on message, keep us reminding, and pick up tips as well. Like today, I'm on A3 and there's no room left. You know, I'm almost on the desk here, and that started off blank.
Yeah.
So it's value time. I echo Rob there. You know, fortnightly, if that works for the majority.
I definitely agree. I think one of the faults I have is not actually spending time on thinking about how I develop the business. You're just so busy doing it. So actually having this as a regular kind of two weekly thing in, you know, yeah, I should probably be thinking about it, you know, at least once a week. So have the 2 weeks every 2 weeks, ideally somewhere outside or active would help me, because I do struggle to be sat down.
Face to face, Neil, is the next. Next.
I think so, and I think, you know, conversations I had with Chloe at some stage would be great to be able to go to the arena and a space there and to experience that. Pedro has extended an invite to the tap room at the brewery as well. And that feels like a perfectly safe area. So I think that's the exciting thing, is suddenly being able to sort of come together again. I think because we're all pretty much based not far away from Derby. Obviously, Teresa's a bit further away. But I think it'd probably be a combination of some of it virtual, and then maybe every 2 months coming together, you know, in terms of that. Obviously in July, we feel like we're going to be dressed in red and getting the Lions tops on and stuff like that. So working that through. Teresa, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we've had the conversation, Neil, and I said I need to, I'm one of those that sort of sat on the fence,
Yes. Yeah.
a bit at the moment. I can see, why people say a fortnight. My first thoughts were once a month's enough. It's enough time for me to be out of the business, but I do get, people do need to spend more time out of the business working on it, not in it.
Yes.
Totally get that. I am a bit with Robert. I'm a bit like, I can sit and focus for a bit and then my mind sort of goes, or somebody will come up with something and my mind goes, and I'm thinking how I can implement that, but I think, if you did go to 2 hours, again, suits some people, maybe not suit some more. It's how strict you can be with what's being done in those meetings. If you do put it to 2 hours, where does it go? Does it lose that conversational bit?
Yeah,
I don't know. It's the structure of it, I think.
I think it is. And again, now that we moved on from something that is sort of a government peer network program and stuff like that to as a great peer network does, you kind of, it's your group, you kind of inform the rules. And I think then when you other networks, you then to say, look, if we are going to come together and we build this trust out and bond out, then we can have a couple of sessions where we don't make, but that's it. You have to kind of commit to it, and because keeping the group together, and it's like if you miss one, then that's a yellow card or whatever it is. So it brings about, you set down the rules, and I'll then just be the sort of facilitator around it. But I think it's really, really good. I did some feedback to the D2N2 team yesterday, and I have to be honest, I just couldn't see how this is going to work. I just couldn't see how you're going to bring people who didn't really know each other together every 2 weeks to be able to be as vulnerable as we've been, to be able to get the breakthroughs we've been. But actually, I've been proved massively wrong, hugely wrong. Because again, that was my kind of mindset that you had to do this face to face. So we all learn, don't we?
Never assume anything, Neil.
Never, exactly. Yeah. And what, in many respects, Mary, it's a game changer for sort of my business, because we've got, we know from this afternoon, there are 6,000 businesses up and down the country who have not got an opportunity to continue this. Their LEP is not funding it anymore. We just created a program for all those 5,880 people who can continue it. And that's, again, being entrepreneurial. You say, well, there's something here that we've created. We think there's benefit on that. So we'll continue to do that. So what we'll do, I'll find out a bit more in terms of, and I know, I say, having spoken to you with most of you on the one-to-ones, I've got a rough idea. I know most of you where you're at, obviously know exactly where you're as well, Teresa, and respect all of that. I think what will then get more clarity from D2N2 is exactly the timings around this when we get up and running. Maybe we have a quick session just to finalize that, and then we're off to the races. And if it is fortnightly, we'll take that guidance from the other guys as well. Then more than happy to facilitate that. All right. Final few things then. As ever, I've just put into the chat bar the feedback form. Not quite as good as an NPS, but if you could just take a minute just to kindly give some objective feedback from today, please. And then we'll just have a quick go around the final close.
Hey, Neil, can I just mention a chap called, I don't know whether you've heard of him, you might have done, Malcolm Smith.
I've heard of Malcolm Smith. He used to work at Molson Coors.
Yeah, well, he does the power of 1%.
Does he?
Yeah, we've had him come twice into our business to speak to QSs and different factions. There's quite a few YouTube stuff about him as well.
Okay.
So if anybody wants to sort of get a feeling about the power of 1%,
yeah,
as well as reading about it, he's a very good speaker to actually have a look at.
Very good. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. That's actually, that was the other thing that came out from D2N2 yesterday, is that if any of you have got another director who wants to benefit from this as well, we've got one of the other cohorts we're running. You've got to have a minimum of 6 in each cohort for this, to continue. We're running 3 in D2N2, and we've got one that's got about the sort of 6 at the moment. But if any of you have got another director that you would like to join this other cohort over the coming year, or again, it's sort of fully funded. It's not recommended to have 2 directors for the same company in the same cohort. That doesn't work.
No.
Yeah, hang on a minute. This is where we're going. No, we're not. But, you've got somebody who
There'd be words.
yeah, they could benefit. We've got a couple of spaces spare in one of the other cohorts. So just let me know offline on that.
Okay.
So just this quick go around passing thoughts on today's session and sort of one phrase close. So David, you're on the top left-hand corner. From my perspective, I'll get your thoughts first. Off mute.
Again, sorry about that, guys. I had to take a call at the end there. Go on, ask the question again now. Thoughts about today?
Yeah, just a quick sort of one phrase close in terms of what you've got out today. And
I tell you what I've got out of today. Who said that this too shall pass? I think it's interesting. Mark's, it was really fascinating talking through that problem with Mark. And I think it's always when you can see the other side of it and you know it's going to pass. I think that's, I actually took something on board for that. We've got some challenges. We're going to look at those challenges, but actually look forward and look at what it looks like on the other side. And as long as you can still see past that, then you can be in a positive place.
Thank you so much. Teresa.
For me, I think because I didn't come to the meeting last week, having come to the one this week, I feel like it's clicked. It feels more gelled today. I'm not saying it's ever felt sort of disjointed or anything, but it feels like everybody's finally come to a comfortable place with everybody. You know, which does take time, but it felt a nice meeting. I don't know whether that was having the breakout rooms as well. So I might give a bit of credit to Robert. It was nice to sit and have a chat.
Yeah, again, it's a bit of innovation and doing things slightly differently, keeping this fresh. By the way, Mark Johnson sent me a note. He had a crisis in his factory. One of his motors went down, and that's the reason why he couldn't join us. But he is working on a prototype for an eco pet cradle. So one of the ideas that Teresa
it can put me down for a few. I'm sure I'll be needing them at some point.
Thank you, Teresa. Robert.
Yeah, I mean, I've really enjoyed these, and it's been nice to talk to like-minded people about issues in different industries. Mark, I mean, I don't know how you've done it over the last year, because I mean, you've tried to run a business when they've told you you can't leave your home, so it's just absolutely brilliant. Take my hat off to you. But with austerity, there's always opportunity, and you've just got to try and prize every opportunity that you have moving forward, and carry on doing so. So yeah, no, I've really enjoyed it.
Brilliant. Thanks, Rob. Chloe.
Yeah, just really enjoying getting to know you guys. I'd probably never meet you in any other situation, so probably I would meet Mark maybe, but that would probably be all. So it's just really interesting, and I'm learning lots from all you guys, and just seeing how sport kind of fits into all of that. Obviously I'm slightly different as a community interest company, but a lot of the things still completely apply. So I just can't wait to meet you all face to face and just get to know a bit more about you personally as well. So yeah.
Brilliant. Mary.
Yeah, I just think the key things from today, I mean, I wasn't on the last one, but I think it's perspectives, really. It's just that all of us as business owners are coming at it from, we've got different personalities, we've got different businesses, but actually at our heart, we're all very similar in the sense that we want to do the best we can. And we want, what Teresa said earlier, is that we all want to do the best we can for each other now in this group. And there's a sense of trust, I think, that's come through, and the sense of perspective. And what was beautiful about today, which I'll take away for quite some time, I think, is the fact that somebody who had, as in Mark, who had some real key horrific business problems, has now got a strategy to go forward. So from a perspective of negativity, he's now got a perspective of inspiration, and he's got some active things that he can go away and do. And it's never to be sort of you know, for every problem, I do believe there is a solution. It might not be an immediate solution, but I think through talking and engagement, I think that's what's come through today. I think it's yeah, really looking forward to sharing a bottle or two of wine with all of you at some point.
Yeah, beautifully put. And if there weren't problems in the world, then there wouldn't be need for entrepreneurs to find solutions. So lovely angle. Mark, just final word for your good self.
Our brains have always got capacity to learn what we don't know. I don't know a huge amount of what you all know. Today you've given me dozens and dozens of things. So the way that you've all volunteered your time to help my problem is remarkable. And thank you. Thanks for everyone. These sessions are so important. You know, they're cathartic. We all contribute and help other people. None of us are emotionally engaged in anyone else's problem, which means that our vision is often more clear, and we're able to see things that you can't. And today you've all done that for me, and I'm very, very, very grateful. And I'm a big believer in the saying, paying it forward. So you just got to keep helping the next person, and good fortune will come and find you.
Give us game. Yeah, very good. Guys, fantastic session. And a few claps going through there. So no, I really enjoyed today and the last 3 months. You know, it's been a privilege doing these things. You know, helping people work through, you know, together. You know, it's about the power of masterminding. You know, we've got what we've got between our ears, but you bring 7 or 8 other like-minded people together and you get the mastermind, which is where all the greats have grown their businesses. So good luck, Mark. Really look forward to hearing over the coming weeks how things net out for you. I think we've got a one-to-one together.
Yeah.
Soon, so looking forward to that. Have a great day, everyone. Stay safe.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.